fluctuate. The root of the righteous will be steady. The root of the righteous will not be unstable. Now, this is heavy, because if you have any righteousness in you, the first thing that's going to come to your mind is that I have to stop sinning presumptuously.
That's right.
But before you start putting it into action, it's going to come to your mind, and you're going to tell yourself, I need to stop sinning presumptuously. You ever wonder why these thoughts came to your mind? Because you wonder why. Because the root of righteousness is instilled in you. And in order for this root in you, in order for this root to grow, you got to start working on yourself by not sinning presumptuously against God. He said, man, look, man. He said, the root of the righteous shall not be moved, will not fluctuate, will not shift back and forth. Right? Verse 4. Proverbs 12, verse 4.
A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband.
A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. That's a woman with virtue. Right? Now, what is virtue? Eshet Chayil. Woman with strength, vigor, and fortitude. Right? Is a crown to her husband. Read.
But she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones.
Like rottenness in my bones, man. You ever felt that rottenness? The way a woman and the actions of a wild, crazy woman, how she make you feel, and you looking at her like, man, what did I do? What am I doing with this woman? Like spirits attract, man. We are not comparable. That's what pushes you away from certain women, man.
That's right.
Because later on down the line, you see certain things in her that's not compatible to God.
That's right.
It's not compatible to the ways of God.
That's right.
So when you see certain things like that in her, that's what really pushes you away. Just like I told my woman, I said, you cannot continue to remain the same way. There come a time when you gotta change.
That's right.
There come a time when you gotta change. There come a time when you gotta start getting better with God. Don't get better with me.
That's right.
Forget about me. Get better with God. And when you get better with God, you get better with this. Like I told my imam, man. And I smiled. Because yet last night, I told her, I said, listen, tomorrow's Yom Kippur. Can't eat, can't drink, no TV. All right? So I left her there and made her think I was staying here on Park Place. So I played Jack in the Box. So my father taught me, he said, man, listen, every now and then you got to pop up. So I popped up on her, came in nice and quiet. She in the room, sitting down, listening to tapes and following in the book. I looked at her, I said, good. I didn't catch her with the TV on. I didn't catch her with doing nothing that I told her not to do. And every now and then you got to pop up. You got to keep popping up. Because they still ain't proved themselves.
That's right.
You can't allow them. They still don't. You always got to do pop-ups. Pop-ups last forever. Yeah, forever pop-ups. Forever pop-ups. Always continue. Lay certain grounds down, disappear, and pop right back. You know why? Because one thing you got to realize is that she's not with you for God. She ain't with you for God.
That's right.
She with you for you. She don't have that affinity with God yet. Get that through your brain, Sam. She don't have that affinity with God yet. You got the, and she may never get it, like the brother said. You right. She may never get it.
Died out.
They gonna. That's right.
Died out.
That generation done died out.
Fact.
that generation done died out.
Big fact.
That's a fact. So you always got to continue to do pop-ups. You have decided to serve God. You is trying to get some type of affinity and connection with God, not her.
That's right.
Not her.
That's right.
Realize that. Tom, see, what verse you at? Oh, I see it. Go ahead, read.
But she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones.
Uh-huh.
The thoughts of the righteous are right.
The thoughts. Ooh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You hear that, man? You hear that? I don't think we realized. He said the thoughts of the righteous are right, are just. So now you just gotta watch yourselves. You gotta ask yourself. You gotta question yourself. Why am I thinking that way?
That's right.
But in order to question yourself about why you're thinking that way, you gotta know right from wrong. You have to be reading this book. The book is what tells us right from wrong. So you gotta take heed to yourself and able to ask yourself, like, wow, I shouldn't have thought that way. You know what? I shouldn't have did this. Don't be right and stubborn at the same time. Don't be wrong and strong. Be able to check yourself, man. Be able to check yourself. God said, I read in the book where it said, he said, don't keep a grudge. Don't hold a grudge with your neighbor.
Okay.
Right? Another part of the book said, he said, go to thy neighbor. It may be not so. So we got one person have that mentality, and this guy don't have that mentality. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Tom C.
But the counsels of the wicked are deceit.
The counsel of the wicked is nothing but deceit, tricks, lies. It's gonna benefit them.
That's right.
Tom C.
The words of the wicked are a lie in wait for blood. But the mouth of the upright shall deliver them.
The mouth of the upright shall deliver them. Read.
The wicked are overthrown and are not. But the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom.
A man shall be commended according to his wisdom. And what is wisdom? What is wisdom? The laws. The laws, commandments, statutes. When we read Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus, that's Solomon was a wise man. And where he got his wisdom from, there is law from that law. When you can link the laws of God to Proverbs, you can link the laws in that first 5 to the Proverbs, to the Ecclesiasticus. It all stemmed from the law. Tom C.
But he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised.
But he that is of a perverse heart, right? A perverse heart. And when it speaks about a perverse heart, it's called perverse thoughts. Your mind, the way you think. He said that person shall be despised. God gonna despise you because your mentality is perverse. The way you think is perverse. The way you think is contrary. We gotta clean our ways before God. We don't have 100 years to do it. We don't have no time to do it. But you know what our mentality is? We got all the time in the world. We got all the time in the world. But a man, only a condemned soul would think that way. A person that has that root of immortality and righteousness in them gonna get up on himself immediately and change to be godly, change towards godliness and righteousness, so that death don't creep up behind me. And they end up taking me out before I begin to make changes with God. Tom C.
He that is despised and hath a servant.
He that is despised
and hath a servant.
And had a servant
is better than he that honoreth himself and
lacketh bread. He said, the man that's hated and despised and have a servant, at least he's despised, but he still got a servant to do things for him and serve him. He said, that man is better than he that honoreth himself and lack bread. Sufficient in bread. You don't have much. You don't have much, but you have so much honor to yourself. You think too much upon yourself, and you ain't got nothing. You don't have nothing, but you think too much. You think very highly about yourself. Top sheet.
A righteous man regarded the life of his beast.
A righteous man knoweth the life of his beast.
But the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel.
The tender mercies of the wicked is cruel. The tender mercies of the wicked is cruel. What is cruel? Cruel is willfully causing pain or suffering to others, feeling no concern about it. How can you cause pain to people and not be concerned about what you're doing? Why do you want to cause pain to a person and it doesn't you're not justified? You ain't justified. But yet you want to hurt this one, you want to hurt this one, you want to hurt this because you all emotional. You all emotional and you make your anger get the best of you. So now you want to go around and hurt everybody. What you look at? That's not godly.
No.
That ain't godly.
No.
That's not the ways of God.
No.
What are you doing? Check yourself and remove these ways away from you. Pernicious is a person that implies irreparable harm done through evil. Certain things can't be repaired.
Okay.
Remember, certain things cannot be repaired
Okay.
because you done went too far with it. Read.
He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread.
Exactly. That shows me a man that work, you're gonna be able to eat.
That's right.
He that tilleth his land gonna be satisfied with bread. You want to eat, you gotta go work.
That's right.
Read.
But he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding.
Lacks a heart.
Right.
Lacks a heart. You don't have a heart. So now this tells me about a person that don't have a heart. This tells me about people that don't have a heart.
Yeah, don't consider.
You follow vain people. You're walking and you agree with vain people. So you are the same like that person.
Right.
That person don't have a heart.
That's right.
Tom Sheep.
The wicked desireth the net of evil men.
The wicked take pleasure in the net of evil men. You know what the net is? The net is an entrapping situation you cannot get out of. A trap. Like, listen, check this out. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to trap him. Watch this. You trap him, you set things up. He end up getting into it. Now, he caught red-handed. He caught. Those things you got to stay away from, man.
That's right.
Those things we got to stay away from.
That's right.
He said, and that tells me that you're evil and you're wicked. It said the wicked desire it and take pleasure in the net of evil men. But the root
of the righteous yielded
fruit. That's right, Reed.
The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips.
The wicked is trapped by what he said out of his mouth.
That's
You done
right.
trapped yourself because you done said certain things
That's
and you
right.
know
Yeah.
you can't do it.
That's right.
You can't do it, but yet you continue to voice certain things out of you being so emotional. Out of your emotions, you done voiced it and they can't accomplish it. Read.
But the just shall come out of trouble.
Uh-huh.
A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth.
Uh-huh.
And the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him.
Uh-huh.
The way of a fool is right in his own eyes.
The recompense of a man's hands will be returned to him. You gonna get it repaid. Whatever you put out is coming back.
That's right.
The way of a fool is right in his own eyes.
The way of a fool is right in his own eyes. The way of a fool, he's right in his own eyes, and you can't tell him nothing. He said he's right.
Yeah.
You can't show him or tell him where he's wrong because because he's still stuck on what he said. He feels he's right.
Yeah.
He don't want to hear nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta hear different opinions, different things, and match it. Because there's wisdom in all things. Moses wasn't like that. Moses said, hey, Eleazar and Itamar, why wasn't the sacrifice brought in the holy place? He wasn't stuck on what he said. He was humble, and he had enough humility in himself to humble himself and listen to what Aaron said. Aaron said, well, the sacrifice wasn't brought in the holy place because it was taken away. It wasn't there, and it wasn't accepted. Do you think God is going to accept it? And what Aaron said made sense. So you said, okay. Left it alone. Tom sheet.
The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise.
Is wise, right?
A fool's wrath is presently known.
A fool's wrath is presently known. You know what's presently? You know what I mean by presently known? You make a fool of yourself anywhere.
Yes.
Anywhere you make a fool of yourself.
Yes.
Anywhere, make a big outrage. Anywhere. That's why I say, yeah, everybody gonna know that you're a fool. Everybody gonna say, nah, I don't mess with me. He's a fool. He's a darn fool. I ain't messing with him. You go over here, man. I ain't messing with him. He's a fool. I ain't gonna. I don't like the way he act. That's the stigma you got. You don't put on yourself.
Yes.
Tom Shee.
But a prudent man covereth shame.
A prudent man covereth shame. A prudent man governs and disciplines himself. So a man that governs and disciplines himself will cover shame.
That's right.
Will cover shame. There is certain things that is shameful.
Talk about it.
There is certain things that ought to be covered and sealed and not to be brought out. A painful feeling caused by the consciousness of one wrongdoing.
Talk about it.
Which means you have guilt. This man has guilt about what he's done.
Talk about it.
Read.
He that speaketh truth showeth forth righteousness.
He that speaketh truth shows forth righteousness. Tom
But
Shee.
a false witness deceit.
But a false witness is crafty. Tom Shee.
There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword. But the tongue of the wise is health.
There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword. What verse is that? Oh, I see it.
18.
There is that speaketh like the piercing of a sword, which means your words. Your words that you done voiced out of your mouth, it penetrates, man, and it hurts. So that's the reason why when you read Proverbs 15, he said a soothing tongue heals.
That's right.
A soothing tongue heals. Which I'm gonna go to that chapter. He said a soft answer turning away wrath, which means just by my words alone, I will
That's a fact.
change this man from being so angry.
That's a big fact.
All right. He said, but grievous words stir up anger. You know what the word for grievous? Painful words. What is painful words? Painful words are irksome. Painful words irritates and annoys you, right? So painful words will stir your anger up. And then when you say painful words, you say, well, the other guy that said it, look at you and say, why you angry?
Why you angry?
Okay.
Why you angry?
What in the world? Why you angry? Look what you just said. Look at what you just told me.
Are you kidding me?
And you want me not to get angry?
Are you kidding me?
And you want me not to get angry? Tom Shee.
But the tongue of the wise is health.
The tongue of the wise man is health. The words that this wise man said out of his mouth will heal you. It'll calm you down. Read.
The lip of truth shall be established forever. But a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil.
Deceit is in the heart, is in the mind of them that imagine evil. All right? Now, to imagine, it means to devise thoughts that are formed in the mind. Now, a person that has thoughts, evil thoughts, he's deceitful. He's deceitful. He has a deceitful heart, a deceitful mind. See? But to the counselors of peace is joy.
There shall no evil happen to the just.
There shall no evil happen to the just. Read.
But the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord.
Lying lips are an abomination to God. Read.
But they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge.
A prudent man concealeth knowledge. Hideth knowledge. Read.
But the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness.
Proclaimeth foolish. Speak foolishness. Read.
The hand of the diligent shall bear rule.
The hand of the diligent, the hand of the determined shall what? Bear rule.
But the slothful shall be under tribute.
You know what the slothful is? The slothful is a person that's lazy. The slothful shall be taxed. Shall be under tribute, shall be taxed. He's going to get taxed. You're going to always owe. Because you're lazy, you don't want to work. So how are you going to pay back on what you got, what you need to owe? What you owe, Read.
Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop.
Heaviness is worry and care, concern set in the heart. Right? Now, heaviness in the heart of man make it stoop, make you bow down. The heaviness that you have within you make you bow yourself down, make you bow down.
With a good word maketh it glad.
With a good word maketh it glad. Read.
The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor.
The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. Now, when you look up the word for excellent, you know what it means? See, the book shows us the ways of righteous men. It says the righteous, not the word for excellent is yatir. Yatir, your tile resh. It says the righteous will seek out his neighbor. You understand that? If you care about him, if your brother or you care about somebody, the righteousness in you will not let months, 6 months, years, and 2 years. You know why I mention that is because there have been times where my Abba said, "Hey man, you spoke to your brother?" And I said, "No, Abba, I didn't speak to him. He didn't call me. I didn't call him." Boom, boom. So he looked at me and said, "Man, what's wrong with you, man?" He said, "Call him and see what's up with him. What happened? Call him. Seek him out. See what's going on. If you have any care, you're not gonna go 6 years, 2 months, 2 years without talking. Just seek him out. Those are the ways of righteous men." He said, "The righteous will seek out his neighbor."
But the way of the wicked seduceth them.
The way of the wicked will seduce them. Read.
The slothful man roasted not that which
now
he took.
It said, but the way of the wicked, the word for seduce it means to cause them to err. Cause them to err, cause them to wander, cause them to go astray. The way of the wicked will cause them to fall into error with God. Tamshi.
The slothful man roasted not that which he took in hunting.
The slothful man
roasted not that which he took in hunting.
This man done went hunting and he ain't cooking what he done wrote, what he done picked up. Right? Read.
But the substance of a diligent man is precious.
It's precious or valuable. Right? Read.
In the way of righteousness is life.
In the way of righteousness is life. Read.
And in the pathway thereof there is no death.
Okay, cut that. Go to Jeremiah 3.
They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, saith the Lord.
Said they say. Go back to that.
They say, if a man put away his wife.
If a man put away his wife. The woman never put away her husband. The woman never asked for divorce. Now it done got upgraded, and now certain women have to run. Yes. Certain women have to run because you done ran into a man that try to have you served by Allah.
Literally.
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 You'll have a man that want to change you and have you doing his ways and not God's ways.
Literally.
Literally. So the woman had to grab her turban and break out.
Run away.
Run away for the sake of the law.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Tamshi, he said if a man put away his wife, but God hated divorce.
Right.
God did hate divorce.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get with this woman and she didn't get with you so that later on in years to come, y'all get divorced and separated.
Mm-hmm.
God hated that.
Mm-hmm.
It is important that whatever problems that these two people went through, you work through it. Work through it and push forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We're going to keep separating. I got children with the person. I keep separating. Go try with this one. Keep separating. I ain't like this. No, you got to stop one day. One day you got to stop and say, well, you know what? I got to work this out. You know what? That's what one thing that Kevin Samuel said.
I was about to say, you heard
Kevin Samuel said, he said, listen, he said, so you're trying Zacking rods.
So you're trying
Because you're jumping around.
jumping around.
Why can't you just work it out with this guy?
Nobody wants to work
Jump
it out.
up, and
Why?
get down.
Work it out.
You don't like working it out.
Push forward and work it through. But women don't like to do that no more.
Nah, jump around. That's the new
They're
thing.
looking for a perfect
That's
relationship,
the new
and
thing.
you're not
Y'all never
gonna
get.
find nothing perfect.
That's a
There's
fact.
always gonna be something that you're not gonna like.
Here.
Always.
Uh-huh.
You just gotta deal with it.
That's a fact.
You gotta deal with it.
That's a fact.
So that you don't have to be a jump off, jumping all over the place, because it ain't cute.
Jump around.
All right. It's true.
Tamshi,
If a man put away his wife and she go from him
she go from him,
and become another man,
become another man.
shall he return unto her again?
Shall he return back to her again?
Shall not that land be greatly polluted?
Shall not that land be greatly polluted? Read.
But thou hast played the harlot with many
He
lovers.
said, you done played the harlot with many lovers.
Yet return again to me, saith the Lord.
God said, man, you done been around, Israel. You done turned away and went and been in every nation. You've been everywhere. You've been with every nation, but yet God still accepted us back, allowed us to return back. Tamshi,
Lift up thine eyes unto the high places and see where thou hast
he
not
said,
been
go on
lying
and
with.
lift up your eyes and see where you haven't been. You've been everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Tamshi,
In the ways hast thou sat for them, as
uh-huh,
the Arabian in the wilderness.
uh-huh.
Thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy
He
wickedness.
said, man, we done polluted the land with our whoredoms. What do you mean by whoredoms? How did we pollute the land with our whoredoms? We've been with every deity. We've been with every idol.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in every nation.
Mhm.
Tamshi.
Therefore, the showers have been withholden.
Therefore, the showers has been withholden. Certain things God hold back.
Rain.
Certain things God held back because of our ways and because of our iniquities that we have committed before God.
Yep.
So God held us back from good, held certain things back
Yep.
because our actions didn't call for it. Tamshi.
Therefore, the showers have been withholden.
Uh-huh.
There have been no latter rain.
Uh-huh.
Thou hast
No latter rain. You know, God had everything set up, man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, latter rain. It was a certain time where the latter rain came in. It was a certain time when it was supposed to pluck and do it. It was all a setup and law for the land. But when we sinned against God, everything got flipped and discombobulated.
Mm-hmm.
Tamshi.
And there have been no latter rain.
Mm-hmm.
And thou hast a whore's forehead.
Uh-huh.
Thou refusest to be ashamed.
He said, you got a horse forehead, man.
Mm.
You got a horse forehead. He said, you refuse to be ashamed.
Mm.
Hmm? Now, what is a shame? A feeling of guilt.
Break it down.
Mm-hmm.
A feeling of guilt. Because only feeling of guilt will you start to make repairs.
That's right.
Only if you feel guilty about something, you will make repairs with God.
Listen.
And a person that feels guilty is conscience. He has a conscience. He has a conscience. He has some just in him. He has some good in him. Only a good man will feel guilty about what he did.
That's right. If you don't,
Only a good man will feel guilty about what he did. It means you got a heart.
yeah.
You have a heart. Read.
Wilt thou not from this time cry unto me?
He said, look, you hear what God asked him? He said, will thou not from this time cry unto me? Do you feel any guilty? And you feel any guilt according to what you did that was against God at all? You don't feel sorry for what you did to your neighbor? You don't feel sorry for creeping up in your brother's window and sleeping with his wife? You don't feel guilty about nothing?
No.
Mm-hmm.
My father, thou art the God of my youth.
What verse is that?
4.
He said what?
Wilt thou not
He
from
said,
this time cry unto me?
Uh-huh.
My father, thou art the God of my youth.
Verse 4?
Yes.
No, that's not verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. He said, my father, thou art the guide of my youth. We need a guide. Yes, we need a guide. My guide is my father.
Say it again.
That's my guide.
Say it
That's
again.
right.
That was the man, and that is the man that has showed me my whole 46 years of how to serve God and to get close to God, the things that I can do to grab God's attention, and the things that I need to stay away from to push God away from me.
Facts.
So when my father is my guide, and his guide is God.
Facts.
My wife's God is me.
Facts.
You can't get to God without me.
Facts.
Right.
You're not gonna learn what is righteousness without me, because you didn't know who God was.
Yes.
I was the dude that showed you about holiness and righteousness.
Right.
I was the guy that told you was a daughter of Zion,
That's right.
pulled you out those pants,
That's
put
right.
on dresses. But guess what? She ain't never considered it.
That's right.
You got it. We gotta realize something. This is self-work.
That's right.
This is work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta work on yourself. You gotta tell yourself that I cannot continue to be this way.
That's right.
You gotta tell yourself that. Just like I told her. So you gotta tell yourself this way, because this what's the next thing came after that? Certain things ain't gonna be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna continue to rock on in this unity this way. Certain things you gotta be able to look past and leave off from. Because now I'm showing you a new or a different way of life that is accepted of God. Read about it. Read about it. Tamshi.
Will he reserve his anger forever?
Will he reserve his anger forever? He told God don't stay angry with us forever. No, God don't. He didn't remain angry with us forever. Look, David didn't remain angry with Absalom. David didn't remain angry with Absalom. No, he didn't. After a while, he said his heart leaned towards Absalom when Absalom came back. But one thing, the reason why all that transpired was because of what God said. God raised up trouble in this house, in David's house. That's why Absalom did what he did. If God wouldn't have raised up trouble in his house, none of that would have happened.
No.
That wasn't the natural norm of men in the book to chase their father.
Right.
No, that wasn't the norm. Tamshi.
Behold, thou hast spoken and done evil.
You spoke it and you did it. Read.
Thou hast spoken and done evil things as thou couldest.
Uh-huh.
The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, Hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel has
Listen, man,
done?
did you see what backsliding Israel did? Read.
She is going up upon every high mountain.
She's going up every high mountain.
Under every green tree.
Under every green tree.
And there had played the harlot.
And there had played the harlot.
And I said, after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me.
After Israel done turned away from God and played the harlot with many lovers, God turned back and said, man, come on back, man.
Mm-hmm.
See, one reason why God always had an eye towards us was because of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Which means what? And you know what I learned from that? Because, all right, me and the Father is on good grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And you my man. There is nothing that your son can do to cause me to turn from him. That's righteousness. Isn't that what God showed with the children of Israel? Because God looked at Abraham and said, you are my friend. He said, you my friend. And I know Abraham, this guy, Abraham gonna command his household after him. Called Abraham his friend. Abraham didn't know he was the friend of God.
Yes, sir.
Abraham didn't know he was the friend of God. But Moses stayed in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Recorded. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. No, who do you think told Moses that? That was straight from the mouth of God. That's why it behooves you to stick to this. These words came exactly from the mouth of God. We read about this and we learn the mentality of God.
Mm-hmm.
So now, because God chose Abraham, he always turned towards his seed. And no matter what they did, if they get better, if they do better, God will accept them.
Mm-hmm.
Which means there was nothing that the nation of Israel could have done to push God away and say, well, listen, I don't want you no more. Tamsi.
But she returned not.
She didn't return her.
Her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not. But went and played the harlot.
But she went and played the harlot also, following the sister. Read.
And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom.
Through the lightness of her whoredom. The Hebrew word for lightness is kuf lamed. You know what that means? Kuf kolam lamed. It means frivolous. Frivolous and self-indulgence. You know what self-indulgence is? You self-indulge, he said, excessive or unrestrained gratification of one's own appetite, desires, or whims. WHIMS. So I said, whims? What is whims? Let me read that. Well, I know what the appetite is. I know what your desires are. But what is whims? Whims are a sudden desire or a change of mind. Especially one that is unusual or unexplained. A sudden idea or a change of mind. That's what self-indulgence, that's what that is. Just out the clear blue, you just happen to have a change of heart about something. God put that. That's what self-indulgence is, man.
Change your heart about God.
That's it. Tamshi.
And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with rocks, with stocks. And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Judah had not turned unto me with her whole heart.
Treacherous sister Judah didn't turn to God with her whole heart, but in deception.
And the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel had justified herself more than
justified herself. Now, you know what it is when you justify yourself? When you justify yourself, you say to have legal reasons. You are so bent to show that you have legal reasons of why you did this particular thing.
A legitimate reason.
A legitimate reason of why I did this here.
Okay.
A legitimate reasons of why I did the other
Okay.
over here.
Okay.
There is no reason.
No.
Just accept your fault, accept that you was
Right.
wrong, and
Fact.
pull back.
Fact.
Okay.
Tom Street,
Go and
Okay.
proclaim these words
Facts.
toward the north,
go and proclaim these words to who?
toward the north,
Towards the north.
and say, Return thou backsliding Israel,
Return
saith
thou
the Lord,
backsliding Israel, saith the Lord.
and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
You see that?
Okay.
You see that?
Okay.
He said, listen here, man. Before, one thing we got to realize about this God, that we are dealing with a God that will warn you first
Okay.
before the trouble comes.
Mercy.
Before he put trouble on you, he's going to warn you. Read that again. He said,
Go and
return
proclaim
thou
these words."
backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, saith the Lord.
And I will
And I will
not
not-
keep anger.
I'm not going to remain angry forever. Do
Do
a father remain angry with his son forever? No. All you got to do is come back and acknowledge your fault with your father and say, well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did it. I acknowledge our fault, boom, 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 boom. But it ain't that way. It ain't that way. And when you say these things, you got to show it that it ain't that way.
Okay.
I can't say things and then jump back and forth, because then even God don't even like that.
That's right.
Tom C.
That's right.
Only acknowledge thine iniquity,
Only acknowledge your fault. Only acknowledge your iniquities.
Yeah.
Read.
that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy
That you have
God,
transgressed against God
and hast scattered thy ways
and has scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. You know what you mean by scattered? To separate and go in various directions. You done went in many different directions, many different paths, but you refuse to follow the path that God has set up.
Okay.
You want to follow in the path and in the way of every nation. You don't see how these Israelites want to incorporate the ways of God with America's ways?
Yeah.
They got birthdays, you want to have birthdays.
Yeah.
They got Christmas, you want to have a Christmas.
Yeah.
They got Thanksgiving, you want to have a Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They got New Year's, you want to have a New Year's.
Yeah.
And then you got brothers that want to substitute. It's a secular calendar. There's a difference. Well, I don't want to hear all that, man. I don't want to hear all that about no secular calendar and this and all this. I don't want to hear that, man. I didn't read where God said Shana Tova nowhere in the book.
This is cut off, man.
Nowhere in the book. If you could show me in that book where it says Shana Tova,
Tova.
Happy New Year,
Talk
then
about
I
it.
will say Happy New Year.
Talk about it.
That's it.
Talk about
Stop trying to
Cut off.
stop trying to add on certain things, trying to sound smart.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Trying to sound smart, and then you got fools clapping behind you.
Yeah.
Let's read Leviticus 23.
Talk about
Read
it,
throughout
man.
the book and tell me where in the world does it say
Talk about
Shana
it,
Tova.
man. Funny style Israelites.
So don't
Talk
tell
about
me
it,
nothing
man.
about no New Year. I don't
Talk
want to
about
hear
it,
about
man.
it. We got a New Year. No, we don't.
We don't.
You got a New Year.
Fact.
I don't. I don't have no New Year because I ain't read it nowhere in the book.
Talk about it, bro.
I didn't read it nowhere in the book, man.
Shana Tova drama.
These people is ridiculous.
Retarded.
You forgot that it was Yom Teruah and want to
Yeah.
lean towards Rosh
Yeah.
Kodesh.
Yeah. Talk
Forget about Rosh Kodesh and
Talk
Shana.
about it.
This
man.
is Yom Teruah,
Talk
man.
about it.
The day of the blast.
Talk about
When
it.
that
man.
trumpet waxed louder and louder at the presence of God.
Talk
When
about it,
God
man.
incinerated that whole mountain.
Talk about
But
it.
yet
man.
we have foolish Israelites about Shana Tova.
It's the only camp that don't say that. Okay? Shana Tova.
That's what makes us different.
Talk about it, man.
That's what makes you different.
Talk about it,
Look,
man.
look. Amongst the elite and amongst God's people, he's still going going to make separations within people, within the ranks.
Yeah.
God makes separations.
Yeah. Within the ranks.
Within the ranks, God makes separations.
Yeah.
You better realize that. Realize
Talk
that,
about
man.
drama.
Right.
Tom Sheik.
It has scattered thy
Talk
ways to
about
the strangers.
drama.
Has scattered thy ways to who?
To the strangers.
To the strangers.
Under every green
Under
tree.
every green tree.
And ye have not obeyed my voice.
You didn't obey God's voice.
Turn, O backsliding children.
Turn, O backsliding children. You know what the word shobab? She called our bait. It means naughty. Turn, naughty, disobedient, lacking propriety, vicious, immoral character. What is propriety? Propriety is when it's conforming. Conforming is what is usually socially accepted in conduct or speech. What is socially accepted in conduct or speech? For example, when Nabal railed on David's men, that wasn't socially accepted. It wasn't socially accepted. Tamshi.
For I am married unto you.
He said, I am married unto you. Right? For I am married unto you. It said, I will rule over you or to possess you.
And I will take you, one of a city, and two of a family. And I will bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart.
Pastors according to my heart. We don't have that now. There is no pastors according to the heart of God.
None.
We don't have that today. Tamshi.
Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Read.
And it shall come to pass when ye be multiplied and increased in the land, in those days, saith the Lord, they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, neither shall it come to mind, neither shall they remember it, neither shall they visit it, neither shall that be done anymore. At that time, they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Lord, and all the nations be gathered unto it to the name of the Lord, to Jerusalem. Neither shall they walk anymore at the imagination of their evil heart.
Right, read.
In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel. They shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given you.
Because at this point in time, they're all separated. God, since the day when Solomon died, God split the kingdom in half. They wasn't brought together no more. Right, read.
And they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. But I said, how shall I put thee among the children and give thee a pleasant land?
Verse what?
19.
Okay, go ahead, read.
But I said, how shall I put thee among the children and give thee a pleasant land, a goodly heritage of the host of nations? And I said, thou shalt call me my father, and shalt not turn away from me. Surely as a wife treacherously departed from her husband.
Surely as a wife treacherously departed from her husband, from her guide, from her shepherd.
So have ye dealt treacherously with me.
Wow. The same way your wife treacherously departed from you, we treacherously departed from God. So guess what God did? God made her leave you, treacherously depart from you, to show you what you're doing to him.
Right.
Read.
A voice was heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel.
The children of Israel.
But they have perverted their way.
They have perverted their way.
They have
forgotten the Lord their God.
Return, ye backsliding children.
Return, ye backsliding
Israel. And I will heal your backsliding.
And I will heal your backsliding. You know what that is? When God heals your backsliding, he makes you whole.
He makes you whole.
He makes you whole again. To restore the original purity or integrity. When God heals you, he makes you upright. He makes you just. He makes you push towards the things that is lawful and right by God. Tamshi.
Behold, we come unto thee, for thou art the Lord our God. Truly in vain is salvation hoped from the hills and from the multitude of mountains. Truly in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. For shame hath devoured the labor of our fathers from our youth, their flocks and their herds, their sons and their daughters.
Cut that and go to Numbers 16. Numbers 16. right? In 22, it says, he will hear your backsliding, right? Make you pure again, to be pure again. And when you become pure with God, you're free from vidiots. Vidiots weakens or pollutes, moral faults or guilt, right? What is weakens? Lacking strength. Lacking what kind of strength? Spiritual strength. Spiritual strength to push for the laws and the commandments of God. Physical vigor. Not when it weakens you, you're not able to resist. You're not able to resist the external forces. Not firmly decided, which means you're up and down with God. Your opinions and your thoughts is up and down. You go and come. Right? Tamshi, Numbers chapter 16.
Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab and On, the sons of Pelet, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of their assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them.
250 princes, right? Now, men of renown, right? Which means what? Men of high standards, men of high degree, right? Tamshi.
And they gathered themselves together against Moses.
Against Moses.
And against Aaron.
And Aaron.
And said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them.
Seeing all the congregation of holy. They're talking junk now. Like saying, well, man, listen, you ain't the only one that's holy of God. We all are holy. Right, read.
And the Lord is among them.
God is among them, read.
Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his and who is holy.
See, even, he said, tomorrow God is going to show who's his and who is holy. Whom he had chosen will he cause to come near unto him. Whoever God chose, he's going to open you up to certain things to cause you to draw close to God.
That's right.
Certain things you're not going to do because it's going to push you away.
God chose my father.
Tamshi.
Even him he hath chosen and will cause to come near unto him.
And will cause to come near to him. Now, read.
This do. Take you censors.
Now,
Korah.
realize one thing. How would the Creator cause you to come near to him? Right? Right? Number one, to come near to God, you're going to have a spirit to want to read. Spirit upon you to read and pray. Right? And the most of all, you have to have a conscience. A conscience is a feeling of obligations to make right that what was done wrong. You're going to start to make amends with God, right? Everybody that don't have that conscience, you have to have a conscience first in order for God to cause you to draw near to him. Because God ain't going to just cause anybody to draw close. If you don't have that conscience, that feeling, that obligation to make right with God, he ain't going to come to you to draw you nowhere near him. Tamshi.
This do. Take you censors, Korah.
Now, he said this, verse 7, right?
Yes.
He said this do. Take you censors, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord. Right? Now, incense. The word for incense is quitoret. The word for incense is quitoret. Right? Incense is quitoret. And when you read through the book, The only time that incense was burned was
in the temple.
during sacrifices
Sacrifice.
in the temple. While you're doing sacrifices, burning that fat, incense and frankincense was burned.
That's a fact.
The priest burnt that.
That's a fact.
They didn't burn that wheresoever they chose. Now people may say, well, this ain't the incense that what the Bible, what read here.
It's incense,
It's
man.
incense. It's frankincense. It is what it is. It's incense. It's frankincense.
Cut off.
Leave off from it. Read.
And put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy.
And it shall be that the man whom God choose, he shall be holy.
Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moses said unto Korah, here I pray you, ye sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you, that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of
He said,
Israel.
seemeth it but a small thing unto you, that God done separate you from the congregation of Israel. You think it's a small thing? You think it's a light thing? Tamshi.
To bring you near to himself to do the service.
To
of the
bring you near
tabernacle,
to himself to do the service.
the
Read.
service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them. And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood
And
also.
now you seek the priesthood too. See, you want the priesthood too. See, these guys had their own little positions, but this dude, these guys didn't like their position. They wanted to jump into the priesthood and the sacrifices and the officiating, and it wasn't their due. See, we all have a place. We all have a place. We got to learn to stay in our place with God. We got to learn to stay in our place, because most of the time when we jump out of our place, you don't end up back in that place. You end up dead, because you done jumped out of your place. Now I got to hit the grave. Now God done took my life. Some people get put back in their place. And some people don't get put back in their place. Some people, once you jump out of place, you go into the grave after that. Or you stay out there, or you end up staying out there. Tamshi.
For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord.
He said, what is the reason why you and all this company has gathered themselves against God? What's the reason for this right here, this outburst? Tamshi.
And what is Aaron that he murmured against him?
He said, what's Aaron that you murmuring against him?
And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram.
Moses went, called Dathan and Abiram,
The sons of Eliab,
the sons of Eliab.
which said, we will not come up.
Now they don't got attitude now. They got an attitude. He said, man, we ain't coming up, man. We ain't coming up. Read.
Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey, kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us?
Except you done made yourself a prince over us. Read.
Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey.
He said, moreover, he said, man, all this time you've been telling us you was going to take us into a land flowing with milk and honey. But we still waiting. You got us here in this wilderness. At this point in time, they wandering around in circles. God ain't come to them and tell them that's what's going to happen. God ain't telling them that. The only one that knew the deal was Moses. Moses was the only one that knew the deal. But guess what? You think he told them? He didn't tell them.
No.
He didn't tell them. Certain things he just kept to himself. And they wandered and wandered and wandered and wandered and wandered until that evil generation died out. Tamshi.
Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us an inheritance of field and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Lord, respect not thou their offering.
The word for respect is tefeng, means to turn to. Turn not to their offerings. And that means a whole lot.
Uh-oh.
That means a whole lot. Because if God don't accept you, he will not accept your offering.
Right.
If God don't accept you, he ain't gonna accept your prayers.
Mhm.
If God don't accept you, don't pray for me.
That's right.
Don't pray for me. Where do we get this thing here? Oh, we're gonna set up prayers out. We just send prayers out. The person talking about setting up prayers, he bald.
Yeah.
The person that he's talking about setting up prayers, he's bald. Then the other guy that's talking about setting up prayers, he desecrate and profane the Sabbath
Talk about it.
every Sabbath.
You don't pray for me.
Don't certain people you don't want praying for.
Fact.
Because number one, in order for these people to pray for you, number one, you got to be accepted of God.
Mhm.
God have to turn towards you in order for your prayer to be accepted. So if God didn't turn toward, he said, listen, God never turned to, he said, Moses said, don't turn towards them and don't accept their offering. Don't respect their offering.
Mhm.
Which means whatever they offer up will not be accepted of God. See?
I have not taken one ass from them,
He said, man, I didn't take an ass from them. I didn't take nothing from them. Read.
neither have I hurt one of them.
Neither did I hurt one of them.
And Moses said unto Korah, Be thou and all thy company before the Lord,
Be thou and all thy company before God.
thou and
Thou,
they, and Aaron tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All of y'all come out here. Tomorrow, read.
And take every man his censer,
Take every man the censer.
and put incense in it,
Put incense in
and
them.
bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers. Thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. And they took every man his censer and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment.
See who the warning came to? Moses, Aaron. He said, listen, separate yourself from amongst this congregation. He said, for what?
That I may consume them in a
He
moment.
said, I'm about to consume these people. He said, I'm about to consume these people. So get yourself, where was you at?
22.
Read.
And they fell upon their faces and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all
He
flesh.
said, oh God, the God of the spirits of all flesh.
Shall one man sin?
Shall one man sin?
And wilt thou be wroth with all the
And you're going to be
congregation?
angry with the whole congregation? That's not the way of God. He said, one man going to transgress? And you're going to get angry with the whole congregation? Tom, see?
And the Lord spake unto Moses,
How
saying,
a person do something and you get mad with everybody. I didn't do it. Neither did this guy. This guy did it. Keep your anger censored on him. Don't get angry at me because you want to add me in with his foolishness. No, just stay angry with him.
Talk about
Don't
it.
add me in that.
Talk about it.
Read.
Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram.
Now he made specific now. Because God was going to wipe, at that point in time, he was going to do everybody in. And Moses and Aaron had to step in and change the mind of God. He said, man, if one man sin, you're going to be mad with everybody? So now God said, all right. He said, get up. From who? He said, get you up from who? From the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram.
Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram.
Moses rose up, went to Dathan and Abiram,
The elders of Israel.
and the elders of Israel.
And he spake unto the congregation, saying,
And he spake unto the congregation, saying,
Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men,
depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men.
and touch nothing of theirs.
Don't touch nothing of theirs, because whatever they got is already condemned. Whatever they got is already cursed. That's why sometimes you got to be really circumspect with what you take from people. Because the things that you take from a person, that person is cursed. And whatever he gave you is cursed. And I will get brush fire for me taking something from this cursed guy. Read.
and touch nothing of theirs,
Uh-huh.
lest he be consumed in all their sins.
Uh-huh.
So they got up from
He
the
said, don't touch
tabernacle
nothing of theirs, lest you be consumed in what?
in all their
In
sins.
all their sin. Read.
So they got up from the tabernacle of
They
Korah.
got up from the tabernacle of who?
Korah,
Korah,
Dathan,
Dathan,
and Abiram
Abiram.
on every side.
Uh-huh.
And Dathan and Abiram came out.
Uh-huh.
They stood in the door of their tents,
Stood in the door of their own tents. They stood there. Read.
and their wives,
Their
and
wives,
sons,
their sons.
their little children.
You see what they did? You see what took place? Because of the sin of these men, they done condemned their family, their whole family. They condemned their wives, they condemned their sons, they condemned their children, their kids, their babies. God didn't want nothing that came from them. Because certain things you do in life, certain things, certain laws you break,
That's right.
will cause us total condemnation upon your whole family.
That's right.
You done condemn your whole everything that came behind you because of this right here.
That's right.
And that's what? Playing with the sacrifices and the offerings of God.
That's right.
Tamshi.
And Moses said, hereby ye shall know that the Lord has
He
sent
said,
me,
now. He said, you gonna know that what?
that the Lord has sent me to do all these
That
works.
God sent me to do this. I'm not doing this of my own free will. I didn't even want the job. I didn't want it. But God gave it to me and told me to do it. Read.
For I have not done them of thine own mind.
I ain't been doing this of my own mind.
If
Read.
these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men,
Uh-huh.
then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up, with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then you shall understand that these men have provoked the
I
Lord.
provoke God.
And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them. And the
Uh-huh.
earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that are appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. And they and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit. And the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them. For they said, lest the earth swallow us up also.
Now they're afraid. After the earth done opened up and swallowed up their houses, everything that was pertained to them, the nation started running away. He said, man, the earth gonna swallow us up too. Let me get up out of here. Right, Reed?
And there came out a fire from the
There
Lord,
came out fire from God.
and consumed the 250 men.
Consumed the 250 men that offered incense. It wasn't their job. It wasn't your place to be offering these incense. Read.
The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter thou the fire yonder, for they are hollow.
They are hollow.
The
The
censers,
people that took up the census wasn't hollowed and separated of God, but the census was. So he commanded Moses, listen, go up amongst the people, snatch up these censers, because they're hollowed. Read.
the censers of these sinners against their own souls. Let them make them broad plates for a covering of the
For a
altar.
covering. They use the census to make a plate for the covering of the altar. Read.
For they offered them before the Lord. Therefore they are hollow. And they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen censers wherewith they had burnt, wherewith they that were burnt had offered, and they were made broad plates for a covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no strangers, which is not of the seed of Aaron, come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he be not as Korah in his company,
Right, read.
as the Lord said to him by the hand of Moses. But on the morrow, all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, ye have killed the people of the Lord. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation. And behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, get you up from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer and put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly into the
Now the
congregation.
wrath of God done broke out because these people still didn't recognize. They still murmuring against Moses, talking about he killed the congregation of the Lord and he did this. So listen, it was no warning. The wrath of God just broke out, and the only one that was able to perceive it was Moses. So Moses knew. He said, listen, I can't stop this. He said, you, Aaron, hurry up. Get your senses, get what you gotta get, and go. The wrath of God has broken loose. It's broken out, read.
And go quickly unto the congregation.
Go quickly unto the congregation.
And make an atonement for them.
Make an atonement for them.
For there is wrath going out from the Lord.
The wrath of God done broke out.
The plague has begun.
The plague has begun.
And Aaron took as Moses commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation. And behold, the plague was begun among the people. And he put on incense and made an atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living.
The dead and the living. Now, when you read and you do your studies, the death angel gave place to certain things. The death angel gave place to the 4 robes, to the diadem on his head, to the long robe. That's what stopped the death angel from passing. And he made that concoction. Tom, see?
And the plague was stayed. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700.
Okay, cut that. Go to Isaiah chapter 58.
Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression.
Show my people their transgression.
In the house of Jacob their sins.
In the house of Jacob their iniquities. Cry aloud. Tell the people where they going wrong at. Don't walk with the dude and you know he wrong, but you refuse to say something. The man is wrong. Tell him he's wrong. If he's wrong, tell him he's wrong. Because by you not saying nothing, you're in agreement with what he's doing.
That's right.
Means I agree what the man is doing. God gonna look at me and you as the same. Tom, see?
In the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily.
Yet they seek me daily.
And delight to know my
and
ways.
Delight to know my ways.
As a nation that did righteousness.
As a nation that did righteousness.
And forsook not the ordinance
forsook not the ordinance of their God.
They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching God.
He said, yet they seek me daily. Right? They delight to know the ways of God. What are the ways? His mode, his course, his mannerism, his customs, his path, his ways. Tamshi.
Wherefore have we fasted, say they.
He said, wherefore have we fasted? Zoom. Zadeh Shabut's Mem. Sophie. It means to abstain from food. That's a fast. The afflicting of your souls is when you restrain, when you put restraints on yourselves. What? To restrain yourself away from the things that pleasure yourself, like food. Okay, Tamshi.
Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and
He
thou
said, wherefore have we
knowledge.
fasted, say they, and thou seest not. He said, we fasting, but you not acknowledging our fast, oh God. He said, how come you not acknowledging us fasting? Tamshi.
Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure.
He said, wherefore have we afflicted our souls, and thou takest no knowledge. He said, behold, in the day of your fast, you find pleasure. You find delight. You find wish and desires. You find pleasure. You pleasure yourself in your fast. So therefore, that will cause your fast not to be accepted of God. Because you find pleasures while you're supposed to be afflicting your soul. So this is the reason why we refrain from doing certain things on this day.
That's
Okay.
right.
This is why you refrain
Listen.
from doing certain
Okay.
things.
Right.
Okay.
You can't afflict your soul and still getting high.
Okay.
Huh.
You can't afflict your soul and sneaking and eating and drinking.
Okay.
You can't afflict your soul and doing certain things, watching TV. That's not affliction.
That's right.
You got to deprive yourself from certain things.
That's right.
And that's the reason why God said, he said, that fast is not accepted.
That's right.
That fast is not accepted. Tom Sheep,
In the day of your fast, you find pleasure
you find
and
pleasure
exact all your labor.
and you exact all your labors. When you exact
Okay.
all your labors, you made them work, continue working, you make your money.
Yes.
You
Yes.
making money
Yes.
while you're supposed to be fasting.
Uh-huh.
You're making money, you're on the job, and you're supposed to be fasting.
Talk about it.
You're supposed to be reflecting on yourself.
Okay.
That fast is not accepted of
That's
God.
right. That's
God is
right.
not going to accept that fast.
Mhm.
Tom Sheep,
Behold, ye fast for strife and debate.
you fast for strife and debate.
Mhm.
You fast to throw it in. Man, I fast every day. I fast every day, man. And then, so what? But you ain't changing.
Talk about it.
It's changes that comes with a person that fasts
That's right.
every day.
That's right.
It's changes that's supposed to come with that.
That's
So
right.
if there's no changes coming with that, then what availeth the fast?
Okay.
That's right.
Tom Sheep.
And to smite with the fist of wickedness.
Uh-huh.
You shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Is this such a fast that I have chosen?
Is this such a fast that I had chosen?
A day for a man to afflict his soul?
A day for a man to afflict his soul.
Is it to bow down his head
Is
As
it
a
to bow
bulrush?
down his head as a bulrush,
and to spread sackcloth?
to
and
spread
ashes
sackcloth and
under-
ashes under
under
him?
him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord?
Wilt thou call this a fast and acceptable day to God?
Is not this the
Be
fast?
truthful with yourself. Will you call this fast acceptable or not? Be truthful with yourself.
Okay.
Right? Is not this the fast that I have chosen to loose the bands of wickedness?
Mhm.
Right? Now, to loose means to release from restraints or to relieve. Right? To loose the bands of wickedness, read.
To undo the heavy burden
To undo the heavy burden.
and to let the
To free
oppressed
from the yoke. To free from the yoke and to let the oppressed do what?
go free,
Go free.
and that ye break every yoke. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry,
Deal thy bread to the hungry,
and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house?
that you bring the poor that are cast out to your house. Person poor, he needs somewhere to stay. You gotta be careful doing that now.
That's right.
But in the book, during these times, you could do that
Mhm.
because the poor that you
Right.
brought in and you is your brother, and you guys had the same mind.
Mhm.
You guys had one projective, one way.
That's right.
Tom Sheep,
When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him,
cover him.
and that thou hide not thyself from thine
And don't
own
hide
flesh.
yourself from your own flesh. You know how many people hide themselves? And what I learned from what I read, we wasn't supposed to turn nobody back. He said, give them according to what you have. You have a lot, you give a lot. If you got a little bit, you give a little bit. He said, but don't turn your brother away empty. Don't turn your brother away empty. So if I have a little bit, 20, well, all I got is 5. I'll give you $1. I'll give you 2. I'm going to give you something. But I can't give you what you asked for. Tom Sheep.
Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and
Then
thine,
shall thy light break forth in the morning.
and thine health shall spring forth speedily,
Uh-huh.
and thy righteousness shall go before thee.
Mm-hmm.
The glory of the Lord shall be their reward. Then thou shalt call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, Here I am.
So there's certain things that we need to be doing in our lives for God to come at your call.
Mhm.
And if we're not doing these things in our lives for God to come at our call, then we need to start doing it. Tamshi.
Then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say,
Here
I am.
Uh-huh.
And thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity. And if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry.
And speaking vanity, the word for vanity is awen. It says speaking of evil, speaking injustice. And injustice is lack of fairness. An unjust act or occurrence, meaning an incident or an event, an unjust incident or an unjust event. Tamshi.
And if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday. And the Lord shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones, and thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach.
The repairer of the breach.
The restorer of paths.
The restorer of the path to dwell in.
If thou turn away thy foot from the
If
Sabbath.
you return or turn back thy foot from the Sabbath.
From doing thy pleasure.
From doing your wish, your desires, your pleasures on my holy day.
And call the Sabbath a delight.
Call the Sabbath a delight. We don't delight in God's Sabbath day.
No.
We wait for the Sabbath day to do certain things.
Right.
Go see people.
To do certain things when it could be accomplished and done during the week.
Talk about
The Sabbath is supposed to be
Talk
a
about
delight, man.
Talk about
Right.
And we're not gonna find delight in God if we delight in God if we don't start to find delight in the things that God said for us to find delight
Talk
in.
about it.
All right. So call them what? The
holy day of the Lord.
The holy day, the holy of the Lord, honorable,
and shall honor him.
and shall honor him.
Not doing thine own ways.
Not doing your own ways.
Right.
Nor what?
Finding thine own pleasure.
Nor finding your own pleasure.
Nor speaking thine own words.
Nor speaking thine own words. Nor speaking of matters. Because we come up when we get into a lot of conversations that don't have nothing to do with God.
That's right.
And when we start talking about certain things that we don't have no business conversating about, then we start arguing.
That's right.
Then it brings out a heavy debate.
That's right.
Why? Because you shouldn't have been talking about what you're talking about.
Just to kill time.
Right? Tamshi.
Then thou shalt delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father.
He's going to feed you with the heritage of Jacob thy father. When you begin to honor God's Sabbath day. When you begin to honor God's Sabbath day, then he's going to begin to feed you with the heritage of Jacob. When God feeds you with that heritage, you straight. You straight. Tamshi.
For the mouth of the Lord has spoken it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And with that, let's go to one more chapter. Isaiah chapter 66.
Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
The heaven is my throne.
The heaven is my throne.
The earth is my
You know what the throne is? It's in my seat of honor. The heavens is God's seat of honor. Read. And the earth
is my footstool.
Is my footstool.
Where is the house that you built unto me?
So where's the house that you don't build?
And where is the place of my
Where's
rest?
the place of my rest? At this point in time, the temple has been desecrated, destroyed. Man, it's profaned. Everything went down in that temple. Tamshi.
For all these things have my hand made.
All these things have my hand made.
Had been, saith the Lord.
Uh-huh.
But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor.
Even to him that is poor means humble, right?
Right.
And of a what?
Contrite spirit.
And of a contrite spirit. Nakeruach. a contrite spirit, a smitten or afflicted spirit, right? Because when you're smitten, when your spirit is smitten and afflicted, it brings about changes. It brings about getting right with God. And what? The last one?
And that trembleth at my word. He that killeth an ox is as if
trembling at my word. You got to be afraid in order not to break God's word. And if you're not afraid, then that's when you begin to jump back and forth with God. Tom, see?
He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man.
He that killeth an ox is as he slew a man. Read.
He that sacrificeth a lamb as if he cut off a
Dog's neck.
He that offereth an oblation.
He that offereth an offering
as if he offered swine's
blood.
He that burneth incense.
He that burneth incense.
As if he blessed an idol.
The word for incense here is lebona. Lebona is frankincense. He that burneth frankincense is as if he blessed an idol. Blessed what? All right? Blessed an idol. The word for idol is awen. Bless, it means to praise, to glorify, to speak good about. Now, you got to watch what you speak good about, because whatever you speak good about, you have blessed it.
That's right.
When you speak good about things that is unjust and evil, you blessed it.
That's right.
You blessed it. He said, yeah, they had chosen their own ways. They had chosen their own ways, and their soul delighted in their abomination. You chose to be the way you are.
That's right.
You are the way you are because that's what you chose.
Right.
And because you chose that, the person begins to delight in his own ways.
Right.
And when you begin to delight in your own ways, you tell yourself that you are right. And you believe. You make yourself believe this thing here that you're right. And you're not right.
No.
Tom, see?
I will also choose their delusions.
I will also choose. When God chooses your delusions, he's going to choose the mischief and the trouble and the calamity to put you in. God is going to put you through a certain type of trouble. Tom, see?
And will bring their fears upon them because
what you're afraid the most, God going to put it on you.
Wow.
Because when I called, none did answer.
When I called, none answered.
When I spake, they didn't hear.
When I spake, you didn't hear.
But they did evil before mine eyes. I chose that in which I delighted not. Hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye that trembled at the word of God. Only a certain type of people that's going to hear God.
Sure.
Read. Hear the word of God. You got to be afraid. Read.
Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, say, let the Lord be glorified. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed.
And with that, I hope everybody got what was bought. And I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yom Kippur Shalom.
Yom Kippur Shalom.
And
And I'm going to call up another speaker, teacher indeed, Chief Mikal Ben Levi.
Giving all praises to the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Giving all due respect to my father, teacher, and the leader, Chief Eleazar, Ben Dodo, Ben Lewi. And all due respect to the brothers and sisters, chief men, mothers in Israel. I bid y'all to turn of our forefathers, Yom Kippur Shalom.
Yom Kippur Shalom Lekah.
Okay, we're going to go into Abraham. We're going to go into Moses real quick. Book of Exodus.
Exodus, what chapter?
Chapter 16.
Exodus chapter 16. And they took their journey from Elim. And all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt.
They're in the wilderness. The wilderness is the desert. Sin is the wilderness of sin. Sin is a desert land. And that's where they at. They're not too long left by the Sinai.
And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye had brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
To murmur is to speak in an undertone. You won't be able to understand what I'm saying, but you know I'm saying something. It is also a complaint against authority. An undertone complaint against authority that you're not supposed to hear it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and you're complaining. And that's what they were doing. God heard all of them, and this is what they were saying. Would God that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. What they're saying is, God should have left us in Egypt and let us die there. When we sat by the flesh pot, because they would have rather sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, because they're not eating out there. There's nothing to cook. There's nothing to plant and sow. So they're hungry and thirsty out there. He said, well, ye have brought us into the wilderness to kill us. This shows that they don't believe God. Because when Moses told them, I'm going to bring you into a land flowing with milk and honey, like Chief Shama just said, he didn't give them all the details in between. They thinking they was going to leave out of Egypt and go straight into the land flowing with milk and honey. Everything be right the next day. They had to prove themselves first in order to get in that land and live in that land, because the people before there, who are the Canaanites, God evicted them because of their sins in that land. That's why God says certain things that you see them do, that you was doing in Egypt, you can't go over here and do. So they have it all wrong. God is not he didn't bring them out there to kill them in the wilderness. And guess what? Because of their actions, most of them wind up dying in the wilderness anyway.
That's right.
Right or wrong?
That's right.
But they wasn't supposed to be in there for 40 years. But because of the report, the lie that they came back and told, that said they couldn't handle and they couldn't fight against the Amorites, that made it to where God said, now y'all going to stay there for 40 years. And that whole 40 years, the adults got killed off.
That's right.
The only ones was the elders, Joshua, and Caleb. And the rest was children 20 years down. Tamshi.
Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. For the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no.
He said, behold, I will rain bread from heaven. He said, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to feed them and test them at the same time. He said, gather a certain rate every day that I may prove them. See, that means to be tested. Right? He said, whether they will walk in my law or no. Tamshi.
And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as is gathered daily.
He says, on the 6th day, bring in twice as much that you usually bring in every day. Because the manna came down every day except the Shabbat.
Right.
So on the 6th day now, it has to be doubled. Okay? Has to be doubled. Why?
And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel at even, then you shall know that the Lord had brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then you shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord.
He heard
And
it.
what?
He heard it. He said, now y'all going to know that y'all going to start believing what God said. And he's doing all of this so that you could know who the God is, because he heard your murmurings. He heard what you said in your heart. He heard what you said in your mind. He heard the complainings. Every man was in their tent doors complaining about God. Yo, man, we ain't get out of here yet. We still stuck in this place. What this guy Moses talking about, the discouragement setting, impatience setting. And they start to talk against. This is what led to them rising against Moses. Tamshi.
And what are we that you murmur against us? And
He
Moses,
said, and who are we that you murmuring against us?
uh-huh,
He said, because really you murmuring against God.
that's right.
God is the one that told me to do this. God sent me here to tell you this. I haven't told you nothing. Moses didn't tell the people nothing God didn't tell him to say.
Right.
Whatever God told him to say, he said it. If he didn't tell him to say it, he didn't. There's a lot of things he didn't tell him.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so who am I? He said, that you murmuring against us? He said, because really, you know, you murmuring against God, Tamshi.
Mm-hmm. And Moses said, this shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that the Lord heareth your murmurings which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against God.
See, he said it again, and what are we? You pointing the finger at us, but it's not me running the show, it's God running the show.
That's right.
All of this is going down because of God. God told me to lead you here. Tamshi.
And Moses spake unto Aaron, Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, for ye have heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At evening ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread. And ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that at evening the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host.
Now, there's a spot in Israel, close to the same area, where quails still come up every year in abundance. A sea flood of quails come up. Now, quails, people have quails, they say that chicken and turkey are the same family as quails, but they're not. They are not in the same genus, they're not in the same family. As well as God would have gave them, and then another thing too, the word chicken, you ain't gonna find it in the Old Testament. You ain't gonna find it. You ain't gonna find turkey. Certain animals, names, some of them you're not gonna find in here. So it wasn't that the quails were clean to eat. Okay? That's what God gave them. Why? Because he bringing them out of a place where they don't know God. They know idols. Everything's handed to them right there. They said that we sat by the flesh pot, so they didn't have to do nothing but serve Egyptians and do what they want and serve idols. They served those idols there. So this is what you call a rude awakening. This is a shock to them. And as time passed, it's getting to them. But he said, look, I'm going to do it like this. I heard your murmurings. He said, speak unto them, at evening ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning shall ye be filled with bread. That's when he's going to rain manna on them. He said, ye shall know that I am the Lord your God. He said, this should convince them. This should be enough right here that after that, they're going to believe everything I tell them after that. It should be no more problems after that. Tamshi.
And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness, there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna. For they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord had given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord... It
didn't look like the bread they knew.
Yeah,
that's why they said, what is it? They looked at it and said, man, what is that thing? Yeah. They called it manna. Like, what is it? Like, they didn't know what to call it.
It looked weird.
It was different.
I said, but what's this?
And they said, man, this is the thing which the Lord had commanded. He said, no. And Moses said, this is the bread. Moses identified it for them. He said, look, the bread God said he's going to rain down for you, that's it right there. That's it right there.
This is the thing which the Lord had commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in this tent.
So you got 6 people in your tent. That's an omer for each person, right?
That's right. Okay. 6 omers.
Top sheet.
And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. And when
some people didn't gather a full omer. I only gathered half. This guy gathered an omer. He gathered 2 omers to every person. Tamshi.
And when
Remember,
they did-
the rule is, hold on, the rule is 1 omer to every person.
Mhm.
So it's 1, 2. 5 people, 6 people, you got 5 omers, you got 6 omers. Tamshi.
And when they didn't meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating.
You see, he that gathered much had nothing over. He gathered much, but then when he looked, nothing left there. Right? And he that gathered a little bit had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, let no man leave a bit until the morning. Don't leave it till the morning. Consume this now. It's enough for everyone. It's 1 omer. That's the rule. God knows how much the measurement of what you could take, how much you can eat, how much, you know what I'm saying? So 1 to every person, Tamshi.
And Moses said, let no man leave of it till the morning. Till the morning. And it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning.
He said, notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses. They didn't listen. Some had brighter ideas. Like what Chief Shama was talking about earlier, when he said all of a sudden a bright out of sudden. I just say, you know what? No, I could do it. I might as well have to take more. Or I'll take less, right? And now I'm gonna hold some for the morning. They didn't believe. He said, notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning. And when they went up to get to it, it was stink. We say it's spoiled, right? But it ain't spoiled. God already gave the command. It said, don't leave them till the morning. So if once they did that, that's what caused it to be stink. Tamshi.
And every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers, for 1 man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses.
Yeah, verse 23.
And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath day unto the Lord. Bake that which you will bake today. Seethe that you will seethe. And that which remaineth over, lay up for you to be kept until the morning.
Now, he said take twice because tomorrow's a Shabbat. And what you keep and leave for the morning, it ain't going to be stink. It'll be there waiting for you. See the difference? That's why God just wants people who follow rules. Because he gave them the measurement. They didn't follow the right measurement. He gave them the rules. Don't hold during the week. You get outside, you get the manna, you eat it, and all that, you eat it, nothing left till the morning, you're good. But if you leave it till the morning, it stinks. On the Shabbat now, you leave it in the morning, and it's double. It don't stink. It don't have worms in it. It don't have maggots in it. So that was the thing they were supposed to realize, Tamshi.
And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade. And it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the fields.
See, he said, and it did not stink, neither was there no worm in it. And that was the Shabbat morning. Tamshi.
6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather.
There's
still
some people, those are the ones that was leaving it to the morning. Those are the ones that was taking more than an omer or less than an omer. So they figured down, we're going to go, these guys probably took less. Now there's nothing in the morning. So they going out there looking, but there's nothing out there. Because he was told already in the past verse, he said, when you go out there, there's not going to be anything out there. He said, and it came to pass that they went out some of the people on the 7th day to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws?
Mm-hmm.
The test was failed because nobody was supposed to be out there looking for it. Nobody was supposed to keep it during the week, right? And it got stunk. And then on the seventh day, nobody was supposed to be out there looking for it. These were all the tests and trials that they was put through in the wilderness. He said, the Lord said unto Moses, how long ye refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord had given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place, let no man go out of his place on the seventh day.
Mm-hmm.
So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the name manna, and it was like coriander seed,
Mm-hmm.
white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. I tasted coriander seed a long time ago. I remember that. And it is white. It is white, and it has a sweet taste to it. Top sheet, verse 32.
28. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse you to keep my commandments and my law? See, for that the Lord had given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his tent, in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day, and the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord commanded. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread therewith. I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth out of the land of Egypt.
So he said, this is the thing which the Lord commanded. Fill an omer of it, of the manna. He said, take an omer of the manna to be kept for your generations. This thing is going to be kept for generations. After these guys die, it's going to keep. Top sheet.
And Moses said unto Aaron, take a pot and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony.
That omer of manna was placed within the ark.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It's still there. It's still fresh. It hasn't bred no worms. It's not stink because God commanded it. It's under God's command. You see that? That thousands of years ago in the wilderness, God told them during the week, don't keep none till the morning because it's going to stink.
Mm-hmm.
On the Shabbat, he said, keep it till the morning. It didn't stink. Then he said, take another omer of it and put it up to be stored. People take things and bury it in the ground. They take messages and say, we're putting this in the ground, put people in 5,000. Time capsule, all that stuff. That's where they got this from.
Mm-hmm.
He said to keep this for what? For generations. To be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread. So the people later on down in David's time, that omer was in the ark in Jerusalem.
Right.
And they were able to see that bread in there, right?
Right.
Wherewith I had fed you in the wilderness. This is proof. This is this thing been lasting, and you can still eat it right now. But you can't eat it. They didn't eat that. That was there's evidence and proof that God's word is to be believed. Top sheet.
When I brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. And Moses said unto Aaron, take a pot and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now, an omer is a 10th part of an ephah.
And they ate like that every day for 40 years. Every day. They didn't plant nothing. There was no fields. They were in the wilderness. There's nothing growing out there. So God sustained them with that. Tell she.
And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin, after their journeys, according to the commandments of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did try with Moses and said, give us water. and we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord?
He said, why are you testing God, arguing and chiding with me? Well, you see it's no water. And you telling me to give you water.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to pray to God. Ask God to give it to you.
Right.
This is what they were supposed, this is the training that they were put through. And they were supposed to get in the world. This is part of their training.
Right.
Because I heard an Israelite say, why didn't Moses just give them the water? You see, you're not intelligent enough to understand that at the beginning, Exodus, when he said, God has come to prove you and that his fear may be before your faces. And then God sent them to go and spy out the land. And when they came back with the evil report, he said, okay, you know what? Look, at that same time, they're trying to kill Moses and Aaron. God said, okay, filter. That's what led to them staying there for 40 years. So now the training goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling them, why are you asking me for water? Why are you chiding with me? Why are you tempting God? We've been through this already before. We've been through this before. He said the people thirsted there for water.
Mm-hmm. Wherefore,
3.
the people did chide with Moses and said, Give us water that we may drink.
Next verse.
And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?
Now he's saying extra stuff. Why you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children with cattle and thirst? Tell she.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me.
Which is true. They was ready to stone him. They're not just talking to him. They're coming at him aggressively. Tell she.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go on before the people and take with thee of the elders of Israel. And thy rod, wherewith thou smotest the river, take in thine hand and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come out of it that the water may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And they called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not?
Now, God keeps saying, I am the Lord. I am the Lord. I'm with you. I got you, right? And they're saying, is God here or not? Where he at? Why are we going through this? Why are you letting this happen? That's what those sayings bring that type of character. He said, then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim.
Mm-hmm.
Amalek is a tribe. Yes, Esau had sons,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Amalek comes out of one of those sons. And they, for some reason, Amalek had a problem. Out of all of Esau's kids, this particular set had a problem with Israel, all the way down to the time of Esther.
Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out men and go out fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands was heavy. And they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Moses and Aaron and Hur stayed up his hand, the one on the one side and the other on the other side.
But Moses said, my right hand shall not spare the sinners. He said, I took Israel out of Egypt with a stretched out and mighty arm, because Egypt is in front of me here. When God put those plagues on Egypt, he had his hand stretched out over Egypt. So those plagues come from God Wherever God, it's like you pointing. It's like you're pointing. Wherever God stretched his hand out at for destruction, that town, that city, that land, that person, that's what it happened at. So the same thing happened here with Moses having his hands up like this. As long as his hands stayed up, he wasn't praying.
No.
Right or wrong?
No.
His hands, just as long as his hands stayed up, because where he's at,
On top of
he
the
said,
hill.
on top, they up high.
Right.
That's right, they went up high.
Mm-hmm.
They're over the battle area.
Right.
And he got his hands like this over the battle area. So as long as his hands stay up over that battle area, they gonna win. But after a while, look, your hands get tired. Right or wrong?
That's right.
Yeah.
Stand your hands up like this, your hands get tired. Okay? If your hands was injured, you're not gonna be able to keep your hand up here too long. Right or wrong?
Right.
So after a while, his hands got tired. So they put stones. They got the stone. And you would think it's stones like this you could throw. Stones are big boulders. They pushed them things. They picked them up. They pushed them. They moved them around. It's just something we can't do. No, you ain't pushing a boulder. Right or wrong?
Right.
You're not pushing a boulder. Like I seen 10 men push them big giant industrial ACs that you put on top of the roof. Right or wrong? You got 10 men get behind it and push it. Push. You're not pushing the boulders. They were exceptionally, their strength was different.
Right.
Their strength was different, man. Well, man.
Verse 12.
Verse 12, okay.
And his hands were steady until the going down to the sun towards the end.
He kept his hands up all day. And they were fighting all day. You know what it is to be fighting all day? Do you know what that is? Do you have the stamina for that? Just look, and some people will agree with me on this. Just you, that's not a bunch of people fighting the army. Just you and another person in a cell. Okay? Okay?
It's tiresome.
Well, it's tiresome. We'll keep you going. If you stop,
My rage.
your rage keep you going. After all that calmed down, you feel it.
What?
Yeah.
I stay up 5 nights in a row.
You feel it. You feel it. They was fighting all day and all night. Do you know what it is to look up? You're on top of the mountain and you look and you see, you say, wait a minute. What's all of this I see across the hills? People. And they coming for you.
And I can see.
They like the sea. They coming. You see them on horses. They're coming. Yeah, that ain't no joke, man.
I'm praying right there.
I was thinking, I said, man, that's why God had to keep telling people, fear not. Don't be afraid of those people. Don't be afraid of those people, because they was getting ran down on. A lot. It took a lot. They are the seed of Jacob. For real. And it took a lot. Okay? It took a lot, and only the best was able to go in. That's what it said. That's what it boiled down to. The whole nation didn't make it. It took the best in individuals and certain families that made it. But yo, you get ran down like that, man. It ain't no joke. That's when they cried to God. He said, "Come save us, man." They are here. They coming. And when the people come, and that's why when God told them, people from the north is coming. If you don't stop playing, I'm sending them to. Matter of fact, they're on their way now. They're on their way now. If you chill out and just do this one commandment here, right? What was it? Let your brethren go. Let your brethren go that you have as bond servants.
That's right.
Let them go back. Do that one thing, and I'll come back and work with you. And I'm gonna set them. I'm gonna let them go back. But they didn't listen. And who was the people of the north? Babylon. And when they came, they didn't have mercy on the old. They didn't care about the old. Why you doing that to our old? You didn't care about the old. Why you doing that to the young? You didn't care about all the things that's being destroyed and destructed and taken. You didn't care about it. That's why God allowed them to come and do it. That was why. And Shammah said, you get a warning. He warned them. He warned them for years. For years. Jeremiah the prophet, Isaiah, Ezekiel. These guys lived for a very, very long time. We don't know what the end of Jeremiah was. Yeah, we don't know that. You know why? When they left to go to Babylon, he took the ark, he took the tabernacle, he took the altar of incense, and he hid them in the same mountain that God showed Moses the land. It's hidden there, deep within the caverns. After that, he disappeared. He didn't go in there and die. He didn't pick another part of the cave. He sealed it up and he blinded the people who were trying to follow him and find the way, find the trail. Because you could get lost in there forever in those mountains. And after that, he kept it pushing. You don't know what happened to him after that. Melchizedek, where he came from. Remember Melchizedek? He came out of nowhere. The priest of the Lord from Salem. Salem is the same city that is called Jerusalem now.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Salem.
That makes sense.
There's a song out now. It's called Jerusalem. And do you know how popular that song is? Whoa, yo, everybody plays that song.
That's that song.
It's in the club. They play it in the clubs where they play everything else. That song gets played. For real. I said, wow, look at that. They play that in dance hall and hip hop club. And it's about Jerusalem. So, yeah, they say pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But we can't pray for the peace of Jerusalem now. When we face the east, what are we facing? We're supposed to be praying towards what?
Jerusalem, right?
So that place.
Yeah.
That place is not there. So what are we facing when we face the east? It's not there. We're way past the era that Solomon was talking about. When he said, if you in your enemy's land, you fall off and you're in trouble, and this go, pray towards this place. We fall off, right? We say we in our enemy's land, right? We're on the other side of the world, where Jerusalem is at, right? You got to cross the ocean to get over there. Is there a place for us to face in the east? No, it's not there. When we face that place, do you know what's in that place right now? The Dome of the Rock. There's a Muslim synagogue called the Dome of the Rock in there. And in there is a big meteorite called the Mosque of Omar. No, it's called the Mosque of Omar, and that meteor is called the Dome of the Rock. That's what's there in place of where the temple used to be. It's not there no more. See, when they was in Babylon, they was able to pray towards that place. It was for them. We got to crash the party. Think about it. The 10 tribes that got snatched up first and went out, Jerusalem was still there, right or wrong. And they never came back, but they still had a place to pray towards and call upon God's name. And God said, I'm going to hear them. Because Solomon asked, if they do this and they pray towards this place, you hear them, Lord. And at the end of that prayer, God accepted that. How he accepted it? When fire came from heaven and took up the offering and burnt up the offering. But where is anybody at now where they could face the east towards that place? It's not there no more. You got to think about that. That's why I said a lot of things that was said in this book was for them. For them. Okay? It ain't happening no more. We gotta we gotta read this book and do what the Lord say. A lot of stuff in the prophecy, gone already. Happened already. Tell you.
And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, what shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said unto Moses, go on before the people and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod wherewith thou smotest the rivers, take in thine hand and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of that place Massah. Exodus 17, verse 7.
We only had 12.
12. Yeah. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in the book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
He said, after that day, that was such a war battle, right? They said, look, this day, this battle here, write that down for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. He said, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Hey, God had a personal beef with these people. He said, I'm going to personally put them out. They're not going to last on the planet. He said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. This was a personal beef. It had nothing to do with anything else. These guys, they came up and hitting them up from the rear, number one. And then you just keep coming back. And they fought all day. That was a day God remembered. He said, yo, I'm going to remember this day, mark this day, because that's the day he swore to wipe them out. Tells you.
And Moses built an altar and called the name of it the Most High Nisi. He said, because the Lord had sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses.
That's why I told somebody, I said, man, Jethro heard about everything God did.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole earth heard about what God did in Egypt, what God did to Egypt. It wasn't just a confined information. The whole known world knew what was going on. That mountain was on fire for 40 days, 40 nights. Yeah. And the trumpet sounded like that. Everything went on for that long. The surrounding lands, the nations from far away, they see that thing on fire. This is why some nations had fire gods. Because they said, that's God. You understand? That's why they had fire gods. See, the thing with Israel, Most High said, I spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You only heard a voice. They didn't hear it. The Canaanites didn't hear the voice. They saw action and rumblings. They saw furnace up in the sky. So they said, man, that God got to be here. That has something to do with that fire. Also part of sun worship. This is why God told him, when you get in the Canaanites land, you're going to see the name of the Lord in there. He said, don't destroy that. He said, break down this, break down the altars. He said, you shall not do so unto the Lord, because you're going to see his name there. They use God's name. Some nations was using God's name also for their things.
And for Israel's people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her two sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom. Right. He said, I have been an alien in the strange land. And the name of the other was Eliezer. For the God of my father, said he, was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses into the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of God. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law, Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife, and thy 2 sons.
See how he
What's
named
up?
his sons? You name, see now people name their children. So he said, I'm gonna name my child Harmony. And the other person said, oh, Harmony, that sounds real nice. It's a good name. But people were named in accordance to their God or what they experienced with God at that time. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? Because he said, look, he said, because the God was mine help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. So he named him Eliezer. Eliezer, God is my help.
Mm-hmm.
He said, because God helped me. So I named this child right here that because of what God did with me. It's personal. But today, it is not so. People call their kids all types of weird names. North, South. Yeah, the weird names, man. Musical notes. The alphabet.
Vegetables.
The alphabet. A vegetable.
Vegetable.
I know a girl named Earthling. Her name is Earthling.
Cars, Mercedes.
Mercedes. All these things is vanity. It's vanity. They didn't do that. They said, well, I'm going to name you Chariot. They didn't do these things. They didn't do that, man. Mercedes. I got a girl named Mercedes and a son named is Benz. Nah, they didn't do that, man. He said, man, I call him Eliezer because God helped me. Because he delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Pharaoh's going to kill him. Time sheet.
And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians.
He was happy. What if it had said, Jethro said, if it said, Jethro said, oh man, so what? That's your God. He didn't get down like that. It's what they call hating. He told him, he said, yo, God did this for me. He did that for me. Look what he did for the people. And he was delighted to hear that, and he was happy for him that God was with Moses. He was happy that God was with Moses. He was happy for that fact. Time sheet.
And Jethro said, blessed be the Lord who had delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who had delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods.
He said, now I know. See, he's speaking for himself now. He said, now I know. He said, all these idols can't do what God did for you. He said, now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. He's top dog. He said, for in the thing wherein that they dealt proudly, he was above them. The Egyptians, the thing that they dealt proudly in was what? Their idols. They dealt proudly in their idols, and that was their defense. That was where their hope was in, right? And God destroyed all of that. He broke it. Because they dealt proudly. You know what I mean by dealt proudly in their idols? They had rules, man, that went along with their customs.
Mhm.
Number one, they didn't sit with Hebrews.
Mhm.
Right or wrong?
Right.
Why? They said it's an abomination
Right.
to sit with a shepherd because
Right.
they're shepherds. Yeah. I see you look at me. Brother. That's offensive. Right? It sounds offensive to you. Why? Because you're a Hebrew. And you don't even work with sheep. Look at that. So, blacks over here, sit over here. Whites sit over there.
Mhm.
Gets offensive when you start doing that. So you don't eat with us because we shepherds. Well, guess what? He's gonna eat with you because you serve idols.
Mhm.
How about that?
Mhm.
How about that? And that was an abomination to the Egyptians. So they have abominations. That's why God said, follow my ordinances. His ordinances is his rules, his ways, his statutes, his commandments. All right? The way it's done, God give us his abomination. Abomination only means that it's something God hates
Mhm.
Test.
or he detests. It could be something, a word. It could be an act.
Action.
It could be an item, an artifact,
Mhm.
okay, or an event.
Mhm.
All of these things make up abominations, right?
Right.
If you got a scale in your house, okay,
Mhm.
that is not correct, it's an abomination.
Mhm.
He said, it shall not come in your house, right or wrong.
That's right.
So God had all his abominations, right?
Right.
The Egyptians had theirs, and these guys had theirs, but theirs don't count. Theirs don't count. The ones that count on God, that's why God said, get away from the Egyptians now and their ordinances. Forget about the stuff you learned over there. Forget about all that stuff you was taught over there, because it was wrong. And people don't like to accept, well, wow, what I was taught was wrong. Most people not going to accept that. Their pride is too high to accept that. They're not going to accept it. Well,
Verse 12.
mhm.
And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel, to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from morning unto evening.
He said, it came to pass in the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. He sat to take care of them in just judgment, matters that come to him.
Mm-hmm.
He proclaimed the verdict according to the law, according to who's wrong and who's guilty, who owed, who violated, who didn't. That's what he sit down there to do, judge. Some people come to ask questions. They come to ask of God. They come to ask certain things. He's there for that. Tells you.
And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, what is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening?
Why are you doing this by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you alone? This is a lot to do by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I noticed? Moses never complained.
No.
No.
That's what I learned from that. He didn't. It is too much. It is a lot. It is going to wear you out.
Mhm.
But he didn't say nothing about it.
But he did it.
He did it. He did it. And see, God is with him.
That's right.
Because now Jethro respects and honors God. He respects and honors Moses' God.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yo, man, what you doing over here ain't good, man. Why are you standing up here doing this by yourself? And all the people stand by you from morning until evening. You by here taking care of a drove. There's a line outside to see one man after the other, after the other, after the other. He said, why are you doing this? Tells you.
And when Moses' father-in-law, and Moses said unto his father-in-law, because the people come unto me to inquire of God.
That they come to ask of God. There's a lot of things that people are going to ask about God.
Right.
You can't get certain
I got
questions you cannot get frustrated with because people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They only know one thing, how they serve their God.
Mm-hmm.
They only know the way of the earth, the way of the world. And he said, yo, man, the people come unto me to inquire of God.
Mm-hmm.
We had people who sit and wonder, wow, okay, so, wow, I don't have the answer. Let me go. The only person I could go to is Moses. He said, so that's why I'm sitting here. He said, when they have a matter,
When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God in this law.
he's still teaching them,
Mhm.
still refreshing it to them,
Mhm.
still running it down, breaking it down to them. And he says, when they have a matter, a situation, and they come unto him, they didn't handle the matter by themselves. They didn't know what to do. So they went and came to Moses. He said, and I judge between one and another. I judge. To judge means to say, well, man, you right, you wrong. Sometimes both parties are right. Have you ever seen that?
That's right.
This guy is right and this guy is right, but they still coming at each other. So it's something else going on. You experience these things when you judge a matter between people. But you have to be just. I can't, you just, right now, I ain't feeling you. Right now, I'm not feeling you. But I have to judge this matter because we the judges. We judge each other.
Mhm.
Regardless or not, we judge each other. We criticize and judge each other. We're supposed to. But God said with just judgment, right? On certain things, or certain matters, me and AJ gonna come to you. And you gonna tell her whatever yo man, who's right or who's wrong? I said B, he said A. Now we stand up looking at you.
Yeah.
You're judging the matter right now. That's what Moses was doing all day. Day.
What, hundreds of people? No.
Look,
Hundreds, thousands,
all day.
Not getting paid
Right?
to be a therapist.
Right? Think downtown court has recess. Why do you think certain people do certain things today? Okay, certain cases, all right, you know what? This is a big caseload here. Man, I deal with this caseload. We're going to give this caseload to next month. Come back here January the 13th. Bang! Next. Because matters are getting judged every day amongst man. Moses is the only one. And there's millions and millions and millions and millions of people. He said, I judge between one another, and I do make them know. I make them know to understand and the differences, the statutes of God and his laws. He break it down to them. You know what I'm saying? When the matters come up, he pronounced the law. Well, the law says this. So you got to pay back that. Or you have to do this. Or this one, he has to be killed. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. He said, this is not a good.
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about the judging, like letting them know about God's laws and his statutes. Time sheet.
Thou will surely wear away both thou and this people that is with thee.
They're going to
This
wear
thing-
away too.
Yep.
Yeah.
For this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone.
He said, thou shalt surely wear away both thou and this people that is with thee. For this, and that's crazy. The people too going to get war weary. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too much for both parties.
That's right.
He said, but this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone.
Yourself alone.
Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people of God to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes up to God. He said, some of these things, man, certain things I got to bring it to Imahama. certain things gotta get run to them. Certain things they gotta know. Right or wrong.
That's right.
Not certain things they gotta know. Right or wrong.
Right.
Now, if I can handle this situation, it'll be handled. But then it comes a lot of times when stuff get out of hand. Sometimes it goes to blows.
That's right.
Sometimes words are said and it gets beyond what they was arguing about. It goes beyond that. And it gets violent. And action happens. That's why it's good to try to prevent these things. It's good to try to prevent these things. God don't like it. He don't like it. He said how beautiful, how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Now, we're going to go to the book of the law, Deuteronomy, chapter 23. It said, he that is wounded in the stones will have his private member cut off. This is for male. This is for male. Remember, the stones is the testicles. If he got wounded, crushed, shot off, melted, cut off.
Melted?
Gunshots.
Oh, that makes sense.
Gunshots. It'll melt it off. Hot stone. That's what a bullet is. Bullet is a hot stone. He said, he that is wounded in the stones will have his private member cut off. Shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This is why circumcision must be done with precision. Yeah. Mess around and cut the baby's private member off. Injure it.
Bleed out.
It says he that is wounded is a wound or got cut off.
Mm-mm.
They did that to eunuchs back then to keep them subservient. Once you're a eunuch, you're a slave forever.
Oh, God.
You're a slave forever and you can't talk.
Oh, I hate me. Oh, they cut your tongue off too?
It said like the side of a eunuch when he's looking upon a virgin.
Oh,
You know what that
man. You can't do nothing with it, son.
You just looking like
Only I could.
you can't talk. You can't do nothing. Well,
So there's no
No.
tongue.
No.
They took a tongue out, ain't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna take your eyes out. They go to the worst part is when they take your eyes out.
Plus the rest of it.
Some of them, depending on your job status, you're gonna get that private member cut off automatically. That's how you become a eunuch.
Everything else is
And there are
followed.
more details to it. Some of them have their tongue, some of them don't. Some of them don't have eyes on the tongue and kept in a dungeon. These are means of torturous servitude.
Good Lord.
Okay, this is why we didn't do this. Israel didn't do that. We didn't get people as prisoners and torture them. One time the prophet said, nah, man, let them go. Feed them and let them go. Because it's more here with us than it is with them.
Right.
But they couldn't see. They couldn't see what the prophet saw. The prophet saw the angels of God surrounding their enemies.
Oh.
So shoot.
A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
So what is a bastard? Bastard is one who was born of incest, whoredom, rape. Incest, whoredom, rape
Wedlock.
is one more. Whoredom, that's whoredom, yeah.
Oh.
Whoredom will cover out of wedlock.
Okay.
That's what a bastard is. Then you get married, you're not married, and you knocked her up and she have a child. That child's a bastard. It's out of wedlock. He said, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation.
Mm-hmm.
He shall not enter, period. Even to the 10 generations down. 100 years down. You still can't come in. Even down to today, whoever is born out of wedlock is a bastard.
It's like princes and stuff that are bastards.
So there's a lot of people with fake crowns on their head, and they're really
Oh
bastards.
man, that's crazy.
There's a lot of kids walking around calling their aunt their mother. They don't know that
And their grandma,
their auntie is really their mother. These, you know what I'm saying? Is a lot of stuff be going on, and kids get born mysteriously of an evil bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the result, a bastard. God don't want bastards.
No.
See, in order for the nation to be one before God, you remember when he said there shall be no iniquity found in Yaakov,
Right.
no perverseness in Israel. Because, look, it's not all right. It's not just everybody was keeping the law. Every individual was born of a mother and father that was married. How about that? Every individual was born of that way. There was no bastards. Okay, if there is one, he can't enter into the congregation of the Lord. He can't be a part of this. He can't be a part of this. He said to the 10th generation, 100 years from now, they can't be a part of it. He's not accepting those. And a girl and a boy can be a bastard, not just the men. Man child and woman child can be a bastard depending on how they was conceived. You understand what I'm saying? That's what makes a bastard. A bastard, if I have a child, right, and then I die, I'm not around, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would say that my son is a bastard. No, he's not a bastard. I married his mother and I had him. We were wedded. We was together. That was my wife. But I died, had a son. He's not a bastard. He's the Yatum. He's the fatherless. Right or wrong?
Right.
He's the fatherless. Tough shit.
An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever.
Ammonite and the Moabite, they can't enter even to their 10th generation. Why?
Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when you came forth out of Egypt.
They didn't meet you. They didn't meet you. They met you with hostility and aggression. They didn't meet you with bread and water like everybody does in the East. Everybody over there. Everybody, visitor, traveler, but we come. They could be bread and water. That's a meal. That was a meal. Universally, that was the meal. They said they didn't meet you that way, right? What they did.
And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor of Kippor of Mesopotamia, to curse you.
They hired this guy to curse you because he was scared. He was scared. He wanted to get rid of you, but he said, man, I can't do it. I don't have the strength. So he went and got a diviner, a soothsayer, with a warlock to put a curse on the people. And because of that, that's why God said, don't accept him. Because I didn't like what he tried to do to you. Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do nothing to God. He tried to hurt Israel, tried to put a curse on them. Tamshi. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God will not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. He said, even though they trying to get a curse on you, he said, guess what? I turned the curse into a blessing. He said, why? Because I loved you. Why God loved them? But we read it earlier, because he found no iniquity in them. He said, thou shalt not seek their peace,
nor their prosperity all thy days.
Don't seek to be cool with them. Don't seek their a union with them. Don't seek to be related with them and marry into them. Because when you do all of these things, you're seeking the peace with them. Mm-hmm. He said, of their prosperity. You don't care about their prosperity. Okay? All thy days forever. He said, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Mm-hmm. Do not hate the Edomite. Okay? Now the Edomite was red and hairy. He was very hairy. You would think he's like Chewbacca. He's hairy, yeah. He's exceptionally hairy. The reason why I say that is because have you ever been around a goat? Have you ever sheared wool?
No.
I ain't sure before. I've been around
If you've
some
been around animals, have you ever touched the animal's hair, that goat hair?
You don't feel
Yo, man, listen, man. It's thick, shaggy, and it's all over that goat.
Yeah, it don't feel like hair. It don't feel like regular
No,
hair.
it don't feel like regular hair.
It don't.
It feel like a knotted up shag rug.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And it's wool. That's how he came out. That's how he came out. Very red. All right? That was the description. Nobody looked like this guy. Nobody. So who is the Edomite today? Right?
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh, it's the white man. It's this man. I said, okay, well, look. There came a time in history when Edom, Syrians, Greece, Romans, okay, certain European nations all mingled and went into each other. All right? They all went into each other. And you have a mingling set up from there. So whoever you think is the Edomite, you can't hate him. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because God said don't hate him.
That's right.
It's the white man, the Edomite, but you can't hate him. You can't hate him. He said, for he is thy brother. He said, thou shalt not abhor the Egyptians, because thou was a stranger in his land.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why Israelites can't get over abhor the Edomite, for he is thy brother, because of the slave trade. That's why. That's the reason why. The slavery that went down in this country. They can't get over that part. Didn't God say, the children of Israel was in Egypt? God said, do not abhor Egyptians.
They like us too.
Because what? Not because he was your brother. You lived in his land. You was a stranger in his land.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing here.
Can't be racist to them white people.
You gotta chill. Just look. Do what God says, stay out their way. You ain't gotta worry about none of that stuff.
That's about it.
But you gotta leave that alone. You can't be coming up. You gotta leave that alone because it's the same thing. That's why I said, don't abhor the Egyptians. Two he said, don't hate Egyptian and the Edomite.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say, don't abhor the Canaanite.
No.
He said, wipe him out, kill him.
Yeah, that was different.
Don't have no pity for him. He said, what? Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity. He said, don't have no pity for them. Don't have an eye for them. He said, don't feel sorry for them. You can't go around feeling sorry for everybody in the world. So dig me feeding people, going outside, feeding the homeless. That's not for me to do. God don't want me to do that. Maybe my brother is in the back and he's hungry. How about that? You're thinking outside about people who don't even serve God. That's not what they do. That's what the heathen do.
Mm-hmm.
The heathen have their own charity. We have our own. You allow your brother to go into the field and eat as much as he wants. And you, brother, when you get in there, don't be cutting down nothing. And don't be putting nothing in no bag and walking out of here. That was the charity. Even our charity was different.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go around, we can't go going around feeding heathens, feeding idolaters. That's what heathens do.
They don't go to the church.
They have a pantry. Thank you.
They go right to the church.
They have pantries.
Soup kitchen.
And you could go there and get whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them and let them take care of them. Well, that.
Verse 6. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. That's not a born Egyptian because I was a stranger in this land.
You was a stranger in his land. You lived in his land. You lived in his house. You lived in his house. You're not supposed to forget that. God is saying that. God is saying that. So what God is saying that, look, man, I don't care what he do, what you do, what go on. You can't forget the fact you was in that land. So you can't hate him. But we don't stick to none of these commandments, man. We really don't. Think about who you lived with in your past. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. If you was in a position like that. But certain people get and say, yo, man, leave him alone now, man. You don't, why you let him get a pass? You don't even know why, man. You don't even know why. Those are the two that he said, do not hate. And he hit the Egyptians up. And he said that he hate Esau. Yeah, later on, God said it. He said, I love his Jacob and hate his Esau. But you, he said, certain emotions, he's too. He said, well, with these guys, you can't hate them. Don't hate them. Because when I'm looking for you, you was under him. When I got you out of there, you was under him. If I didn't break Egypt, you wouldn't have got out. Wouldn't have got out. That's why he said, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That's why his introduction starts that way. I'm the one that bailed you out. So now you owe me the bail money. You needed 10,000. I posted the bail for you. I put up my house. Cost about 10,000. I put the house up. Or put a car up or something. I'll put the cash up. And some bail, they don't want that. Some want only cash, some want commodities. They want property. Now you owe me.
Big time.
That's what God said, yo, man. I gave Egypt for ransom, man. I backed Egypt down for you. I redeemed you. I took you back into my fold. Therefore, you got to keep these commandments. Therefore, you can't bow down or acknowledge no other God before me. Mm-hmm. That's why those commandments start that way. He said, the children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their third generation. See? The Edomites and the Egyptians were allowed to come in their third generation. Mm-hmm. 3 generations from then, right? Their children were able to come and serve God. But this generation, these first 3 generations, God don't want none of them. He don't want none of them. He said, when the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. When you go into battle, when you go into war, God said, when it's time for you to go to war, stay away from everything that you know to be wicked. Not just women. Everything that you know to be wicked. Because you need God with you. Because he said, God, fight for you. You need God to deliver your enemies in your hands. Mm-hmm. He said, if there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night. Chance by night. That's a nocturnal emission, a wet dream. Right? Mm-hmm. He said, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. This rule was the camp. That's the war camp. This is the rule from when you out to battle. And you out in the trenches. In the area where y'all sleep at, that's the camp. It's a big area. Now, we get up at the crack of dawn, we getting up and go fight. Mm-hmm. But we in the war camp. But that night, I have a wet dream. I have a nocturnal emission. Right? I gotta leave. As soon as I wake up and I realize it, I gotta get out of it. I gotta leave the camp. Right? and shall not come within the camp. I gotta stay out there. Shall be when evening cometh on. Evening is right before dark. It's a small amount of periods, no more than 12 minutes long. So the shadow is cast long. He said, when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water. Go wash myself with water. He said, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. When it's dark, now I could come back into the camp. All right? These are the rules for when they was out to war. Okay? It wasn't for your house. This rules wasn't for the house. Because there's more rules, Tom Sheet. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon. Okay? And it shall be when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. He says, so you have a place without the camp, outside of the camp. Today they call it outhouse. Yeah, I'm going out to the outhouse. The bathroom isn't part of the house. Only in the city they design the buildings like this, and apartments, that the bathroom where you go to ease yourself is in the same vicinity of where you live. Back then, that was afar off. So the house was here. You have to use the bathroom. You gotta go outside and walk out into the yard. Just like on a construction site, they have the porta potties on the outskirts. So you can't find a spot by a tree within the camp area. Okay? And ease yourself and keep moving and leave that there. He said, thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon. You're out there, see, war. You have your weapon on you because you're out to war. So your paddle is part of your weapon. The other part of this, you have the sword, and then the handle part it's like a little shovel. Look like a little shovel. Like a small little shovel. I forgot the name. It's an actual name for it. And the entrenching tool, that's what it's called. An entrenching tool. And you use that and you dig, because you use that to make trenches. Right?
It look like this, like a little.
Like an enclave.
Like a little
like that. That way you can gather up a lot of dirt and pierces.
Yeah.
And you do that, and then you ease yourself in that hole that you dug and cover it. You gotta cover it. He said, and it shall be when thou wilt ease thyself abroad. Abroad, when you go out abroad to ease yourself, thou shalt dig therewith and shalt turn back. Because you gotta turn around now and cover that. He said, that which cometh from thee, this stuff that come from you, you gotta cover that. He said, for the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp. See, God, the reason why you gotta do this is because I'm gonna be amongst you guys.
Makes sense.
I'm there. God's presence is there amongst the camp to help deliver them from their enemies. You understand? These are camp sanitized hygiene laws in the time of war. Because you are out in the field in the time of war. He said, for the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp. He's in the middle of your camp to deliver you. See, he's there in the middle of you, amongst you, and what happened? You're gonna be delivered because he's right there.
Sitting right there.
But I'm not God. I'm nowhere near the Lord. I'm not standing up around feces. Are you?
Nah.
Nobody's doing
Just
that.
sitting right there next to the camp. What are you doing? You gotta sleep there.
Nobody want that stuff around them. Let alone the Most High God. He said, you go abroad, you ease yourself, you take care of that out there. He said, because I walk among you to deliver you and give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore, because of this, thy camp shall be holy. That's how the camp is holy. That's how you keep the camp holy. Keep it separate. He said that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. Because if you see it, you're, oh, whoa. He said, I'm a holy God. So certain things that's going on, he ain't gonna come amongst you. That's why he told Moses, you know what? It's best you take that tabernacle that's in the midst of the people, in the midst of all their tents, take that up there and put it all the way over there. Separate. He said, thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. You know, back then you had mostly everybody had servants. Mostly everybody had servants. They had workers. If you had land and you had flocks, you had servants. So this servant ran away for whatever reason. I am not supposed to take the servant that escaped from his master, okay, and deliver him back to him. So, no, come here, slave. No, come here, servant. Where you going? My master. Nah, man. I know him. That's my man.
Yeah, you going back?
You going back?
That's messed up.
You going back, man. No, you can't do that. He said, he shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates, one of thy cities. It's what gates, the term for gates not in cities. Anytime I'm speaking about gates, it's talking about cities. He said, in any of your gates, your cities, where it liketh him best. If you want to go to Megiddo, welcome him with open arms. Yeah, but he ran from his master, man. He's ungrateful. Never mind that. Never mind that. God already laid the law out. That's it. You have to hold him down. Look, you ain't even got to hold him down. All you got to do is leave him alone.
Don't bring him back.
And don't bring this, just leave him alone.
You know why you ran.
That's it. The servant escaped from his master, leave him alone. Let him go dwell where he wants. That's what God is saying. Plain and simple. Because they will bring them back. That's the way of the heathen. A heathen will do that. Right or wrong. Right or wrong. A heathen will do that. So God said, man, you can't be like them, because that's what these issues and matters, that's what they would do. Yeah. So you can't do it. He said, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. A whore is a woman who has sex and she's not married. So there shall be no whores of the daughters of Israel. If you're Israel and you're a female, you should not be a whore. The only time you have sex is when you are married. When you're married. He said, no, and then the marriage thing, the men gotta be able to marry the woman. You gotta be able to marry the woman. You gotta be able to take care of the woman. Okay? You can't play no games with that. You can't do that. And then now, you gonna have my daughter linked up in a situation with you. And you not even right to take care of her. This is why the fathers arrange the marriages, even for the sons. Because they come with a lot of game for your daughters and for your sons. People coming for your daughter, they're gonna come with a lot of game. And the woman that's coming for your sons, they're gonna come with a lot of game. They're gonna say whatever they want, except for the moment. They're gonna accept this for the moment. For the moment. Just to get who they want or what they want. So you shouldn't be having sex unless you are married. And you don't get married just so you can have sex. Mm-hmm. It's not what it's about. I said this the other day. This is why relationships don't last, because it's built on sex, looks, likes. That's why it don't last. But there comes a point in the marriage of a couple that's been together 50 plus years, 60 years, 30 up, all that. And you think they thinking about getting in bed with each other all the time? After a while, it stops. That's why Sarah said, shall I and my Lord pleasure because they wasn't doing nothing. They wasn't doing nothing. They was up in the 80s, late 80s. After a while, you don't see that. So what that mean? It was something more. It was something other than sex. It was the reason why this marriage lasted so long. You hear people, you say, man, y'all been together. I saw an old couple. I forgot how old they was, but they was up there. They both was over 90, right? And she said, I agree. We agree. She said, we agree with each other. And the woman had said that. He didn't say it. And I peeped it. I said, wow. Because in Apocrypha and Ecclesiasticus, it says one of the beautifulest things before God is a man and a wife that agreed together. And it was good that the woman said it. To show a woman you don't have that. It's not a problem for you to agree with your husband. Why is it such a problem? It's not a problem for you to agree with your mother and your father. Why is it such a problem? Sometimes you gotta shut up. Shut up. Listen to what they say. Matter of fact, you're not even getting what they're saying because you keep talking. If you could be quiet for 1 minute, then you will understand the conclusion of the matter. And that's what you have to learn. That's what Chishama was talking about, people staying in their place. All of this comes from what? Family, right or wrong. But it ain't gonna last if it's just built on sex. If you're gonna say, man, I can't wait to get out of here and get on my own. You know how many Israelite daughters think like that? You know how many Israelite sons think like that? They can't wait to go to Take it easy, man. Mm-hmm. It's not that big of a rush. The less bodies you have, the less your track number, the better you are with God. Especially you women. The men too, but especially the women. Especially. No, even the heathen out there, they say they don't want no woman that been all over the place. They don't even want a woman that been. There's dudes out there say, man, if I don't get a virgin, I don't want nothing. And they don't serve God. But look at the mentality. So preserve yourself. The men too, preserve yourself. That's why all these mistakes are being made. That's why you wind up linking with the wrong person and have children. And now she's gone with her. Because you were warned, man. You were warned. You can't put it all on the woman. Right or wrong. You can't. Mm-hmm. You were warned. This is not the time for you to be doing this now. Look. You ain't marrying them. Mm-hmm. You ain't even ready to marry. That's what the boys was told. The boys listen. Boys ain't listen. They think they still boys. So they thought they was men. And they didn't listen. And then the girls don't listen. They want to break off. And this is what you're going to get. Whoredom. Whoredom brings babies. Somebody going to get pregnant with all this whoredom going on. The babies that come from the whoredom are the bastards. This is why God has these rules. He said, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Sodomy, you can't be doing any, it said non-coital sex, meaning if it ain't with a woman that you're married to, the regular way. Okay? We know what that means. We're not going to get all graphic with it. The regular way to have sex. She lies down and he goes into her. That's it. Any other way is abominable before God. Any other way, you into sun worship. So when you get there and you do it that way, and then you're going into her because she's your wife. And this is how we're going to have children. The purpose is to have children, right? Other than that, anything outside of that is sodomy. And sodomy is also a man having sex with a man and a woman having sex with a woman. That is also sodomy. Masturbation is sodomy. Orgies is sodomy. 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, this way, that way. All of that is sodomy. Toys, sodomy. Okay? The strip club, sodomy. All right? Guys like to see 2 girls getting it on, but they look at 2 men. Oh, that's the same thing. You got to look at it the same way. God look at it the same way. All of that is sodomy. So you can't get, he said, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. And that's why we having so many bastards. And these bastards rise up in the ranks and become leaders. Leaders. That's why God said, hey, David, that child there is going to die. That's why he killed that baby. Because it was born out of adultery. It was born out of wickedness. Look. And he the king. 9 times out of 10, that child would have been sitting on the throne.
Wow.
Okay?
King on there.
God said, I ain't having no bastard sit on the throne. He wasn't having that.
Anybody.
Not one king. Yeah, he was wicked. He bowed down to idols, but he was no bastard. His mother and his father was married. He wasn't born of an ill, wicked bed, rape, incest, adultery, all these things. And the baby that come from that is a bastard. Why do you think people hide the fact of how this baby got here? Right or wrong? We see it on movies. And by the end of the show, you go, oh, wow, this kid was John's son the whole time. Nobody knew that John messed around. He messed around and had adultery. He messed around and had adultery. They call it love child. You know why they call it love child? Because by God, if you're married to this woman, all the children that you have is supposed to be coming from her. Unless you have 2 wives. Yeah. That's how God made it. Let's keep it a buck. I have 1 wife. I'm not supposed to be going outside of that wedlock. Out of wedlock means I'm outside of my marriage. I'm not married to her. I'm going unto her. I have a child with her. That child is bastard. So why do you think the kids want to be whores? Do some sodomy acts? Because how they got here. That's how they were bred. That's how they was conceived. That's why God said there shall be none. Okay? Verse 18. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. You couldn't bring the price, the hire of a whore, which is a prostitute, right? Because there's a certain charge, there's a certain price for that, right? Or of a dog. You don't want the price for that either. Because I man, I need a dog, man. I will hire your dog for the night. That price, I'll pay you for that. Now tomorrow, you can't go to the sanctuary with that. You can't go donate that to the church. You can't, that has it, you got to spend that money yourself. God has nothing to do with that money that you collected from the whore or the price of the dog. You don't want nothing to do with that.
I only say dog.
Huh?
I only say the price of the dog.
The price of the dog. He said, thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog. That's the money. The hire is the money.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Right? Into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. But even both these are abominations unto the Lord thy God. He said, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brethren.
Usury.
Usury of money.
Usury of victuals.
Usury
anything that is lent upon usury.
Usury means it's like a loan shark. Okay? $100, right? I lent you $100. but I'm expecting to get back 150.
Mm.
You know, because of the days that I didn't have this $100. It's a 10% rate every day. All of that, I can't add on. I can only look for what I lended out. When you come to pay me back, I'm not supposed to be looking for $200.
Interest and
Yeah,
whatnot.
that's interest. That's what I was looking for. He said, thou shalt not lend upon usury. That's interest of to thy brother of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. But if he stole it, he got to pay. If he stole a sheep, he got to pay back for a sheep.
Mm.
See, that's the difference. I lent that to him. So I get back exactly what I lent out. Because a lot of times, the wicked heart wants more. That's just how people are.
Mm.
They want more than the 100 that you borrowed from me. And loan sharking system is set up that way
Oh yeah.
for them to get more than what they borrowed, what you borrowed.
$500,000.
Yes. It is set up that way.
Oh man.
He said, thou shalt not unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. Who's the stranger? Who's the stranger? Who's the stranger? All right, back then, who was the stranger? Back then, in Israel, when they was in the land, who was the stranger? They sojourned amongst you. They lived with you. They served God.
Oh, it's like the multiple situation.
They're there with you. They're not out there. They're not the not green.
Mm.
They're in here with you.
Mm.
They serve God with you. But you can tax them. You can give interest to them. That's what God said. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury. That the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to do in the land whither thou goest to possess it. There's a lot of things God said do not do to a stranger. You can't vex him. You can't oppress him. Right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things God said don't do. If you do that to the stranger, you want to do this here? No, you can let him away. You can do that. It's nothing. Oh man, listen, man. Our thing is, God gave us emotions, right? But these laws direct our emotions correctly before God. That's what they do. When thou shalt vow or vow,
When thou shalt vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it.
A vow.
For the Lord.
See, they make vows to God. Direct vows. He said, thou shalt not slack to pay it. Right? There's certain vows back then, when you went to go take a vow, you went with money. Okay? You went with money. You didn't go up there empty-handed. All right? Talk to you.
For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it will be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbid a vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering, according as thou hast vowed.
He said, but if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin. If you didn't vow, then there's no sin. Because you didn't vow. So sometimes, don't vow or swear unless you are ready to keep that. That vow, that's an oath. You understand what I'm saying? Once you say it, that's it. You can't turn back. He said, but if he shall forbear a vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is going out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform. Perform means to put into action. To put into action what came out of your mouth. Right? He said, even a free will offering. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I tell you something, I say, well, look, we gotta go over here, and you said, well, look, man, I already said out my mouth that I was going to do this over here for AJ. I'm not supposed to get mad at you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Once you told me Once you tell me, yo, I gave my word, it came out my mouth, I already said to this brother, I gotta leave that alone. And no, I gotta say, okay, nah, go ahead, man, do what you said you was gonna do. That's how I'm supposed to react to that. Because it's God's law. A lot of times I tell people, they look at me like I'm supposed to break. I said, nah, man, I already told this person on my mouth. And I gotta go do this. I gotta take care of this now before I forget, before I get distracted, before this pop up, or I make an excuse. Ain't nothing but a lie. You know what I'm saying? So let me go do this right now. And people get mad. People get mad. Tough shit.
According as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes at thy field, at thine own pleasure.
When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, like I said earlier, that was the charity. It was open to all in Israel. Okay? You ain't gonna have 1,000 people all in your yard like that. Look, and if you do, God gonna sustain you with way more than enough.
You gotta be in fear and hold him. You're gonna be good.
You're gonna be good. Oh man, these people gonna come and eat up everything. That's not gonna happen. Boaz said, pull up. Boaz had all types of people there.
He was blessings.
It wasn't just his servants. They gleaners. Yeah, people came there to glean. People came there to pick up sheep. A lot of people. He said, man, you go over there. The young man ain't gonna say nothing to you, Ruth. And you could draw out the same water that they drawing out. Because that's hard work too. Reaping, sowing, gleaning, binding sheaves. That's exercise.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on the farm, go on the farm for 1 year. Right, wrong? Okay.
For 2.
Right.
No water, no nothing.
You ain't gonna need to do no push-up, man.
No. You got no clean clothes either.
Yeah, I witnessed that. You be fit. And you're gonna be, it's new to you, but after a while, that's exercise. Because you're picking up stuff, you're hauling, you're digging, you're pulling this. It's work, but it's good work. That's why they were so healthy. They ate healthy, and the work that they did was exercise for them. They didn't sit down in front of something and just press buttons all day. That wear you out. Wear your eyes out. Wear your fingers out. It said this, when thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill, at thine own pleasure. But thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. You can't take a container, a bag, and put it in there and carry it home. They call that a doggy bag. Don't you?
When thou comest into the standing corn
The
of thy neighbor.
standing corn of thy neighbor. I keep hearing that corn never existed in the ancient world.
Never heard that about that.
There's evidence of corn. There's evidence. They found corn, and I can show y'all later in certain books. Archaeologists found corn.
So what the Egyptians had stored?
Corn. It said the ears. Another part said something about the ears. It said, no, it's in here. It's in here. It said, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand. Now, the only grain that you can go in the field and eat is corn. Because when wheat grows in a little stalk, right? No ears. You got little spiny things coming out. And when you get it's inside of a hard shell that you got to put in a millstone.
Yeah.
Corn, you don't have to put in a millstone. You only put corn in a millstone if you want to make cornmeal. You want to make corn flour. You take the corn, dry it out, then you mash it. You cut the kernels off, and then you put it under the what you call it, millstone, and you grind that into your flour. That's how you get like cornmeal and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So where are you coming up with this from? Barley, same thing with barley. They all come with a husk.
Mhm.
The only corn don't come with a shell. They come with ears, and you can bite right into it.
We'll protect the way, that's it.
Okay? When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. They had corn. Oh yeah. I don't know where you're getting that from, because they say certain words, they say something different, but they gotta understand corn. Everybody looks at corn as a fruit or vegetable. It's a grain.
Corn is great.
It's a grain. It's a grain. Okay? It's an edible grain. It's not a grain that you gotta beat the whole house up. That's why they were ate. But what else they ate in there? All right. We already covered the olive yards. I mean, in the vineyards. But they didn't go in the olive yards to eat olives because olives was not edible. Olives was only used for oil. Olives was only used for oil.
Mhm.
After the Roman Empire, right, they started to take olives and they put it in brine and leave it there. And that's where we get the idea to pickle things. You understand what I'm saying? You take a cucumber and it gets pickled.
Mhm.
Herring, the fish is pickled. That's where they get that from. They pickle everything. Before that era, olives, you're not gonna eat no olive.
Mhm.
See how you can open up the olive thing, and I love olives. They got the little red pimento. They put that in there.
Yeah.
There's a big giant seed in there. First of all,
So cute. Like,
all right, and it didn't taste. Olives don't originally taste the way it tastes when you eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's pickled.
It's pickled, and it has a very bitter sour taste. You're not gonna eat it.
Oh my God.
Sure.
You're not gonna eat it.
Like, Alpha Grandma was a black one.
Yeah.
It's not
So-
like the.
So their olive yards, nobody was in the olive yards eating. The vineyards,
That's different.
they was in there. That's the grapes. They didn't have apple fields, pineapple fields, mango trees. They didn't have that. The only thing they had was grain, wheat, corn, barley, rye. There's one more. But these are grains, all right? And the only grains, and those are the only grains that I read about in this book. But there's 1,000 more grains. I didn't know there were so many grains, different types of grains in the world. Different countries has different types of grains. But God only mentioned these here. And yes, corn existed. That's the only, it's the only thing they gonna go in the field and eat. If they're not in the vineyard. Everybody didn't have vineyards either. Let me make this clear. You had to be rich to have a vineyard. Even today, vineyards upstate New York, some of the best vineyards is upstate New York. There's times when I've been driving, and for like the next 5-10 minutes, that's all you driving past is vineyards for 10 minutes. Big. The orchards, you smell it. You smell it. Look, man, they ate so good, man. And it was, we get the last of everything here. Because it's shipped from the source. They didn't have to go through none of these things.
Chapter, you finished that chapter.
I finished that one. We'll go to the Book of the Kings now. Second Kings chapter 24. Okay.
Yeah. In his day, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him.
Now Jehoiakim He did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord.
Mhm.
So God sicked Babylon on him. Like, when, like the Jamaicans, they said, Babylon I come. They call Babylon the police. And this is why. Babylon in the book here looked at as the police today. That's what they call police Babylon. But that's what it was. They were like the sword of God. But when you act right, he let the heathen come. Then he said the Syrian is the rod of mine anger. And what did Assyria do? Grab the 10 tribes up and take them out. So they did what God, they performed the punishment that God wanted on them. So this guy now, king of Babylon, he came up and Jehoiakim became his servant. Jehoiakim ain't fight, gave in, and he became his servant, and he served him for 3 years. Tamshi.
And the Lord sent against them bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servants the prophet. Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight, and for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did.
See what happened? You know what Manasseh is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same king Manasseh that got that prayer,
Hezekiah's son.
same one,
Right.
right? And he was known as the king that caused Israel to sin.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That's a worse bracket than a man that sinned.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's nah, man, I don't want no, we're not doing that. We doing the Shabbat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or we doing it, you know, and I'm running, so everybody gotta do what I say or die anyway. Right? So I'm causing you to sin. But I make a note, because there ain't no thing about you gonna do what you want in my kingdom. It didn't go down like that back then. You couldn't do what you want. There was no free speech. You didn't have no opinion. You didn't have ideas. You couldn't come up and say anything against the regime. Well, I don't like what's going on. You couldn't do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the king said, that's it, even though it's wrong. But look, it was so close to God and was still looked at as one man, they still gonna get hit for it. Manasseh cleaned up his act. Israel still got hit for it because they still committed the acts. The acts were still committed. He said, surely at the commandment, these things went down for sure. He said the Chaldees, which is the Babylonians, the Syrians, the Moabites, and the Ammonites. And it says bands. He didn't send the whole nation of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what a band is? A raiding party. A mob. A lynch mob. They come, destroy, take, boom, 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 leave. And then now tomorrow the Chaldees come, destroy, pump, 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 and leave. All of that came from the Lord because of what went on before these guys. Ain't that something? He said, for the sins, all of this came upon Judah to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did. According to what he did. He said, and also for the innocent blood that he shed. A lot of innocent blood gets shed. And then when you got a king that's against God, just people, innocent people, they're gonna get done dirty. There's a lot of injustice gonna go on. David, he said, all who was done unjustly, right?
Snatched them up.
Took them his way.
Yeah.
All the people who was getting persecuted wrongly,
Mm-hmm.
he took them under his way. We ain't got nobody like that.
Joe Biden ain't doing that for real, man.
Oh man, you look at him out, what he did to that. You just gotta thank God it wasn't you. Or none of yours, or your son, or my brother, or my because these are also the wages of sin.
Mm-hmm.
before death come, these things gonna come. And God specifically hit Judah up. What you read earlier, man. He said, man, Israel proved itself more worthy than Judah. Because Judah should have known better. You saw what Israel did, and you saw what I did with Israel, and they never came back. You wasn't supposed to go down that same road, Judah. And this is going on. This is why God said, yo, man, you don't need no king, man. You don't need a king. And he even tried to change their minds with words of persuasion. He said, listen, he said, go to them. Tell them what's going to happen. You're going to get a king that's going to come and say, yo, I want to switch with your vineyard. Don't tell me no.
Get a king, but you're not like half of the king. That's crazy.
And you know what's crazy also? Ahab didn't get up to go and take it on his own. He was going to sit. If Jezebel would have minded her business, would have stayed out of that, he would have been good. So that's what happened when you get an evil wife. You do evil and get an evil wife. Now it's going to be the stuff you won't do or don't do, she's going to do it. And it's going to jump on you. Because she said, if she would have never, but now look, she wanted to make her man happy. See, you got to look at, her thing is, I'm going to make my man happy. If I got to burn you and burn you and burn you or do unjust, I don't care. I'm from Sidon. I'm from Zidonia. She's a Zidonian, a.k.a. Phoenicia.
Zidonian queen.
She's a Zidonian queen. Her father's name is F. Baal. Okay? I say the name so you can hear the name of the idol in it. That was his name. She would have left him alone with that. He would have stayed there looking sad. Because that's how people get when they can't have their way. And then they want to leave or they want to do this. But you can't have your own way. You see, okay. We do that too. We just don't do this and put it. But we do it in our actions and we can't have our way. Yeah, man.
She got a brother named Baal Esser.
Yeah.
The second?
The second. Because he became king after the father died. And she not going to be queen there because she got taken to be another man's wife. That's it. Her Zidonian days are over. She's there, but she brought Baal worship. So, by her doing that, God looked at Ahab. He said, you killed and you stole it? You stole it and took it.
He didn't do it with his hands now.
Wasn't it? Look, I'm going to tell you, sit down. And she said, give me your signature. I'm like, no. You ain't got to do nothing. Think about it. You know what she about to do something with that. Now, it can't be nothing good because I would have done it if it was something good. But there was nothing to be done about it. I had to eat that and swallow it. So he was sitting down looking sad. And that's what made her like, and her job and her duty is to always keep a smile on her husband's face. Pleasing him. So just so happened, she said, let me hold this signet. I got you. Made letters up. Accused that same man. They both. Of blaspheming God and hired vain men to lie on him and said that they were a witness to it. You take money from somebody to lie on them. I'm getting paid to lie on you. That's what she did. And because of that, he got killed. And then she came back and said, yo, go ahead, man. It's yours, man. Do that, man. You heard about it. You blaspheme the name of the Lord. And he got up and he went to it. So he's in there now, dressing it and everything. Elijah pulled up.
Hast thou murdered?
He said, hast thou
taken
murdered?
possession?
He said, not only did you do this,
You violated extra.
but then
And you
that didn't. Look. All right, when you mess up, okay, you snap out of it too, though.
And you
But
ain't
you
even
went
taking
further.
possession.
You went into the possession too. He said, now that's why later on God said, I want this guy to die back. I need a spirit to go down there and influence him, seduce, influence, convince. That's why you get seduced. Somebody comes to persuade and convince you to do otherwise.
Mhm.
That's why they call it say, the persuader. These things are given to attributes given to the adversary. Because he knows you have one way in you, right?
Mhm.
Well, we have good and evil in us, but we have certain things about this book said in us. He knows how to mess with it. He said, penetrate. Penetrate what? Here. And know how to use this with this against you. That's why she looked at it different now. You said, oh wow, I never look, God didn't tell me that part.
Mhm.
What did he say? Because you're gonna be as gods, knowing good and evil.
Mhm.
God didn't tell her that.
Know both sides.
He said, don't touch it, don't eat it, lest you shall surely die. That's it.
So you need to
And
know.
look. And I left it there, unguarded. This has to happen. Oh, why God didn't do this? Look. Don't question the Most High. If you look at the result, you will see why. If you look at the result, you will see why. Okay? Man has to get tested at all times. Yeah. The adversary, his thing is to mess that up. How he get that messed up? By getting into our heads, persuading, suggestion by order of suggestion. It's a thought. And once you entertain that thought against God, now you're on his side. You're doing his bidding. Well,
Verse 4.
Verse 4.
And also for the innocent blood that he shed.
Uh-huh.
For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood,
Wow.
which the Lord would not pardon.
See, a lot of situations, certain things you do, God ain't gonna
There's no
pardon
pardon.
you. When you,
There's no
all right. When you're doing it against somebody, when you do, it's even worse.
Fast,
They said he spilled innocent blood. Do you know what that means? He killed innocent people. He went to another level with it.
Yeah.
He went to another level with it.
Certain things ain't no pardon.
God don't like when the innocent get abused.
No, God don't like that.
You don't like that. That's why you tell the judge to judge justly according to his commandments.
That's injustice.
It's injustice.
God hate that.
He don't like that.
He hates
He
that.
don't like that. What we say, yo, that's not fair.
That's not,
No,
God
that's not
fairness.
fair. That's not right.
Equity.
Do this, boom.
That's
Because
what God loves.
so he already got. He didn't get any.
That's right.
That's
what God loves. Fairness.
You want fairness.
Equity.
He said, well, this guy ain't got. Okay, but look, this guy ain't got either. You ain't thinking about him. What happened? They in the same boat.
Yeah.
We don't think like that.
That's right.
Widows.
That's why God said just judgment, man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let your man go because that's your boy.
Mm-hmm.
Or because you don't like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or because they look out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the gift
That's right.
is a bribe.
That's right.
A bribe is something that's been given to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? With the expectation to change my verdict.
Mm.
That's what a bribe is. The mafia used to do it all the time. Police do it. So God said, I don't want you guys taking bribes.
Mm.
You know what that means? Look, a bribe, man, listen. I give to the police. Every year I give to the police. I give donations to the police.
Yeah.
I commit a crime, they're gonna look and see, man. They're gonna say, hey man, but look, he's a donator. He's a big charity donator. Guess what? I'm not gonna get convicted of that crime. I'm gonna get this.
Some don't even care.
Some don't even get that.
They got you up God. It's somewhat locked in the God.
See, all these things, it's not just judgment. You have judges sitting in the court. If you give them enough amount of money, they'll let you walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll let you walk. Tough shit.
Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Judah?
See, we was talking about Manasseh and what he did, right? Manasseh been dead. Just think that. He been dead. And the children of Judah are paying for all his sins, for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed. They're still paying for that. He said, man, why is this happening, Lord? That's what David asked. He said, what is the cause of this famine? He said, for the bloody house of Saul. Saul been dead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what he did? He did an injustice to, who was it? The Kenites.
Saul?
Who was it? He did an injustice. He did something to somebody. Forgot the people who it was.
Not the Kenites. He told the
No, it
Kenites
wasn't
to
the
get up
Kenites.
from
Yeah, he
amongst
told the Kenites to move. But it was another people.
Yeah.
They start with an A. Start with an A. Can't remember their names right now. But he went against the oath that was taken to Joshua. The people that Joshua swore not to destroy. Remember they tricked him?
Could
I forgot who it was. Those are the people. Their descendants is who Saul hit up.
Mm. And
that's why God hit the country with a famine. That was why. He said for the bloody house of Saul, because Saul made a massacre of these people, and they wasn't supposed to get touched from the time of Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
Time sheet.
So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in the stead. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt.
The king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land. He didn't. Whenever the king of Egypt come out of his land, it's because he coming to take over something, or he owned the property already. But now Babylon is taking over, and it's making Egypt stay in the house. You get it?
Yeah.
I'm speaking metaphorically. Egypt didn't come out their land. It's like the enemy is out here, and it make you stay in the house now. Everywhere where you go at, the enemy don't took it over. So he's staying in now. He ain't coming out his land. He's shut in. He said, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates. You know? Wow. From the river of Egypt, from the Red Sea, all the way to the Euphrates, all the way to Babylon, all through the Sinai Peninsula, through Israel, through Syria, through Assyria, through Babylon, through Persia, all of that whole area, which is called the Fertile Crescent. They took that. Babylon had that. Tough shit.
Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of El-Natan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At the time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And
Besieged means it was surrounded to cut off anybody from going in the city and any help going out the city. No more food could go in the city because the farmland is outside the city. Every morning the gates open and the farmers go out and the servants go out and till the ground. Okay?
Yeah.
At night, everybody's inside that gate. You better not be caught outside. You better not be caught outside. It's very dangerous getting caught outside the gate. Tough shit.
And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants, and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land.
All the rich people gone.
And he carried away
All the people with skills. The working class, the upper class. See how you got the upper class and you got the middle class. All of that is gone. Everybody who was doing good, gone. You got money, you're gone. You're getting snatched up. Because that's what they came for. They came, when they come to raid, they're not leaving empty-handed.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not coming back with bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The bodies is going to work slavery until they die. And the substance, your cattle, your corn, your wine, your oils, your treasuries, all the stuff that was in the temple, golden doorknobs and everything, vessels of gold, everything that Solomon had set up from the time he was there. They took all of that. And he carried away all Jerusalem and all the princes, all the mighty men, the warriors, even the warriors. He said, even 10,000 captives and all the craftsmen and smiths. And you're a craftsman, smiths, you work with that iron. The ones that make the swords, that make the tools, the guys that make the beds for the wagons. All these guys that got skills, snatched them up. None remained save the poorest of the people of the land. What happens then when you got a land with nothing but poor people in it?
It's desolate. It's
You
nothing
got a
there.
ghetto.
Yeah, it's like Brownsville.
You got a ghetto. That's what you got. That's what you got. That's why I said ghetto cities of Israel. And that's how they started to become. Tamshi.
And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives,
His mother,
and his officers,
his wives,
and the mighty of
his
the land.
officers.
Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did which was right in us, which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. But through the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, until he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon.
But through the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah until he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. That's it for that chapter. Hope you guys something what was brought to you today. Sukkot comes in next week.
Sunday sundown.
Sunday sundown. Next Sunday that's coming up, that sundown.
This Sunday coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Sunday coming up.
This Sunday night.
That sundown,
Sunday.
which will be the first day of Monday,
Feast of Booth.
right? And on the 8th day, not the 7th day. A lot of people, some people popped up last year on the 7th day, thinking that we was having Holy Convocation, but it's the 8th day, Shemini Hatzedek, okay? And that's the Feast of Booths. So it comes in Sunday night.
10th and the 17th.
Okay, the 10th to the 17th. And then
10th is first day of Sukkot, and
First day.
Sheminah Azeh is the 17th.
it's the 17th. Okay. Shalom Alaikum.
Shalom Aleichem.
I didn't think he was gonna break some.